All right, so we should be live now. If you guys can just let me know if you hear me, and we'll wait a minute or two, and then we'll get started. I'll take a look at some of these questions we got. So just like usual, if you guys can let me know if the sound is good. All right, sounds like it is good. Great. So nice to see you all. I see some familiar faces. Thank you all for joining me. So like usual, why don't we start by just going through a few of the first questions? I think it's a nice way to also thank the people who are here. I guess really early in the stream, a way to get their questions answered, to encourage people to come if they can. Although I know that for a lot of people, it's and for all of us, we have busy lives outside of this. So I understand that people just kind of drop in at random times throughout the stream, and I try and address their questions too. But it is a nice thing, I guess, for those who get here at the beginning, that I definitely will answer their questions each week. I think we'll probably do 10 to 20 questions or so, and then I'll go to the bottom of the chat like usual, and we'll just kind of hang out and talk about Pokemon and see what's on people's minds. All right. Trainer, how are you guys doing? So JC asks, hey Jake, loving the content as always. Question, would you ever consider doing a video going into the specifics of genuinely rare cards outside of trophy and sets? Yeah, we can definitely do that. So I am working on a video. I haven't started shooting the video, but I'm working on just getting all of the data, because it's going to be a very data-heavy video, and I want to make sure it's as correct as the Pokemon community can make it. And it's just going to be a video on the rarest cards in the hobby, and trying to give you guys the sort of the expected amount of those cards. Now, all of those cards are trophy cards or art, competition type cards, all of the rarest cards. But in terms of like rare cards outside of trophy cards, there are certainly a lot of promos that are very rare, particularly some vintage Japanese ones. There are promos that are less rare but are still pretty rare, like the Misaki promos, which have anywhere between 28,000 and 35,000 copies in the world of each, that sort of thing. So I think having a video, because I doubt that many people know that we actually have ideas of the distribution of those cards, and there are some other promos that the Pokemon community doesn't have an idea of. So I think that sort of thing would be useful for people to gauge the pop reports of these things, to have an idea of what maybe the value of them should be, what the value of these different things should be, and to know if they maybe need to buy something quickly because there aren't so many of them, or if they can wait because they're pretty common and will sort of always be on the market, or likely always be on the market. So, and JC, you can say, ask another question or say below if there are any specific cards you're interested in hearing about, and I can, if I know the answer, I can try to help you out here too. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of good ideas for videos. I'm in the middle of a pretty busy couple of months, and in about 2 months or so, 2 more months, I think things will calm down and settle down, and I may go back to at least trying to make like some shorter videos that are more specifically educational, and not just the sort of like open talking type videos, or the collector chats, which I know a lot of you guys really like, and they're some of my favorite things to do, because it's just so great to get to have like really candid conversations with people who you may not often see have those types of conversations in that setting in a sort of live recorded, unedited sort of way. Creates really useful content for people. So we're definitely going to keep doing those. And I have a lot more people that I've been talking to, and I've had people reach out to me who want to come on the channel, some really interesting people. So they'll be, for the foreseeable future, we'll be bringing people on and having those. All right, Basic Trainer says, with the exception of the starters, most based on limited commons and uncommons, PSA 9 and 10 hovering around 100 to 150 in the pop report. Why such the bad rap? Don't collectors need to finish master sets? So the reason that the pops are so low for those is because they never had any value, so people weren't sending them in for grading. Now that the prices are getting to 100 to 155, people are sending a ton of them in right now, very, very likely, but in bulk submission. And bulk submission is about like 9 months to a year behind right now in PSA. So you have to understand that it's not going to be, since the spike, since people really started sending them in, which is actually probably just about a month and a half ago, the big unlimited uncommon common spike, you have to think it's going to take maybe a year from that month and a half ago. So we're talking about 10 and a half months ish, maybe 10 months for a lot of that supply to hit the market and for those pop reports really to be filled out, because there are a lot of people who are businesses who have a lot of that like mint stuff. Now, I still think that there's going to be an equilibrium point that's going to happen, and there is going to be a market for some of those things. And in the very long run, as long as Pokemon stays stable, I can see those cards returning to, depending on the Pokemon, 100, maybe to $200. It's possible, but I think that with a lot of that stuff, you don't want to pay prices for things now that they should be worth with like 10 to 20 more years of vintageness to them, right? You want to put your money in things that are not going to first retrace a lot and then going to come up in the future. So that would be my thinking on that. But it's unclear, Basic Trainer, how big the market is going to be for those, and it's possible that it is quite big at $100 to $150. The good thing about that $100 to $150 price point is a lot of people can afford that, where they can't afford the higher end hollows. And so when you have a much bigger, broader buyer pool, it can sustain a lot more copies of an item, can be bought up, within that. Or people with a lot of money who want lots of them can buy up a lot and could keep the prices up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that extra supply affects the market. 150 in the pop report for a lot of them. And to kind of take it one step further, it's because if you got a PSA 9, you would actually lose money because they would only sell for like $5 in PSA 9. Like people would unload them in PWCC auctions. And if you got in a 10 before, they might sell for like $15 to $20. And in a bulk submission, you're paying about $8 per card. So you'd make like $12 per card if they came back a 10. And if they came back a 9, you'd like lose a couple bucks. So it was very, very poor margins for businesses. And then when you take out fees and shipping and all these sorts of things, it's like nothing. You've made basically nothing. So that's why. So the only people really grading them were people who wanted probably those master sets. This is, and Basic Trainer, this is sort of the biggest, it's very understandable thing that people are falling into, and that's why these have gone up a lot, is because I think people smartly looked at the pop reports and said, these pop reports aren't that high, they must, and they're only going for $100, that seems like an amazing deal, these are iconic classic Pokemon, and I would 100% agree with that, Basic Trainer, that if the pop reports couldn't balloon up to thousands in PSA 10, to many thousands in PSA 10, if there were only 500, 600 of those in the world, they would be incredibly, incredibly undervalued at $100 to $150, in my opinion. But that's just not the reality of what I think it's going to look like in the very long term. All right. Jody Matoma says, looking forward to the show. Nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us today. Swami says, hey, do you think CEOs, sports players, owners Logan Pauls of the world will look to trophies one day other than Pikachu Illustrator, or will it always be just the wealthy collectors? So I think that there will be very wealthy collectors who are also, sports players and influencers and other sorts of things. So, and I think that some of these guys probably are collectors and didn't just do it for the money. But I definitely think that if people stay in the hobby and stay interested and engaged, the next natural step is to be, and if you have the money, is to be interested in sort of the rarest of the rare, because I think that there's a natural tendency to want to keep collecting more, or keep collecting the harder things or the more difficult things, or wanting sort of the best of the best, or the most expensive, the hardest to find, the earliest, the most historic. And so I think that's human nature. So, I think it's highly, highly likely, if not, if there are those people, the if is, does Pokemon stay hot, and are there going to be a lot of wealthy people who are interested in Pokemon? I think when you think about how popular and loved Pokemon is, it wouldn't be shocking if something like the original Pikachu trophy is selling for like $2 to $3 million one day. That wouldn't be shocking to me. Right now it's selling for like 200,000. Wouldn't be shocking, to me if it was selling for $2 to $3 million one day. Whereas I have a much harder time seeing the Charizard reach those types of prices, given how many of them there are, because there's such, that would be like 20 billion, like the market cap, if you start getting up that high, because there are going to be so many copies of those, and there are also so many 9s and 8s and 7s and 6s that all are going to kind of anchor the price of the 10 down, because people can just go for the cheaper versions of the same card. And so I think you have to think of market cap and how much money you need to buy all of that card for all the interest to be absorbed before then prices start going up. And more of those aren't going to be graded, or not a lot more of those. So it's far more likely that those are the cards that see those really exponential huge growth in the future, in the long-term future, in my opinion, because I just don't see the market cap being there for the Charizard. I think it's also why you've seen that the PSA 10 Charizard, although it sold for $350K, it hasn't moved nearly up as much on a percentage basis as other cards in the hobby during this period, because it's so expensive, and the market cap for buying all those cards, or continuing to buy the 6, 7, 8, 9 that are coming up for sale right now, it's a lot. It's just very difficult for that to move as fast, as high, although it's really been impressive to me that it's moved even as much as it has. It's been an unbelievable ride for that card, and I know the last few people who have sold them, and they're all my friends, and they've all set record prices, and it's very exciting, and I'm very, very happy for them, and assume that people buying them are really wealthy people who can afford them and will love the card. So I think that it's sort of a win-win. It's a great thing that those are being sold at those prices. It's awesome to see. CJ Duwork says, "Hey Jake, looking forward to today's chat. And it was really cool to see you in Sager's chat last night." Yeah. I really enjoy Sager's chat. It's a lot of nights, like late night, when I can't sleep because I'm just thinking about my next day, or my to-do list, or these sorts of things, and I'm not necessarily anxious, but just sort of wired. I tend to be a night owl and do a lot of my thinking. So I do a lot of card sorting and getting stuff in order at night, because I find it meditative and relaxing, and but also productive. And I put Sager's chat on in the back because I love listening. And you guys probably do the same thing with my channel. It's nice having these 2-3 hour long things that you could just kind of throw in the background. You don't have to listen to every word we say. It's just kind of soothing. It's nice to just hear some Pokemon stuff in the background while you're focusing on whatever you're doing. I think it provides something really nice. And I really enjoy his. I really enjoy, Pokemon Radars. Anyone who does sort of those longer form, he does live streams where he's opening packs and talks about the cards, and very enjoyable. Connor B says, what do Jake and the chat, so this is a question for the chat too, think of the Prism cards from Bandai Card S 96 and 97? So I'm not a big fan of the 96. I'm a big fan of the monster card S from 97. The thing about the 96 cards, there's actually some speculation. This is not what you hear normally. Everyone says that Top Zone 1995 are the first ever Pokemon cards, but there's some speculation that actually the 96 were the first ever. No one I think knows that for sure. At least no one who's speaking about it publicly. And so, although they say 1995 are in the Top Zone, they were actually released in potentially 1997, whereas the 1996 we think actually might be from 1996. I've read different things and I've talked to different people about it, and no one's given me a definitive answer. So if they were somehow proven the first ones, that would give you something on the 96, but I just don't like them very much. I have some, but I really gravitated towards the Top Zone and towards the Monster Card S. And the Monster Card S is my favorite, but the Top Zone was just also rarer and more fragile, like more difficult to grade, more difficult to find. And so I really enjoyed the process of kind of tracking those down, trying to grade them. And they also have some like interesting, cool variations like the no number. But I would say the 1997 are excellent in terms of like the quality of the artwork. I think that they're extremely unique in Pokemon. Extremely underrated, unique set for, and at this point they're probably getting pretty well rated. But I still think, $50 to $100 for like PSA 10 cards from that set. The art's just so great that I think that it's incredible value. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to go up that much more. I'm not sure what the desire is going to be for those in terms of an investment. But I think in terms of, like, collector value, if you have the money, $15 to $100 for some of those cards is well worth it, in my view. And then $25 or $20 for the 9s are to me, are not necessarily where I'd be investing, though. Nobsy says, "I will never financially recover from this Pokemon bubble burst." I hope you're joking. Oh, JC says the change of background has thrown me. Yeah, I'm actually not at my normal place. I'm over at my girlfriend's house today, so she may actually make an appearance at some point to say hi and hang out a little. JC says or asks, why are PWCC prices significantly higher than eBay or other marketplaces? Is shill bidding more likely to occur if the auction house requires to be sent in? If shill bidding more likely to occur if the auction house requires to be sent in. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I apologize if I'm not understanding. Oh, you corrected it. Items to be, if the auction house requires items to be sent in. Oh, okay. So, I don't know. I think that some of it, or a decent part of it, is just that more people are watching PWCC now. So there are a lot of people who maybe don't have the time or aren't following all the auctions every day, every week. And so auctions that they might have bid on or bought sort of slip by. But then the PWCC, on eBay, regular auctions, but the PWCC auctions, like, it's that sort of monthly block or bi-monthly block this time where everyone kind of knows about it, or more people know about it. There are lots of eyes, there are lots of interested buyers, and I think you get into these quick bidding wars. I also think one big thing is that because all of the auctions are so closely timed, I think that people who don't have a lot of experience in the market don't have a sense of the prices of everything. And so when they're quickly bidding on things and then going to the next one to try and win and going to the next one, you get people who I think panic and pay $300-$400, sometimes $500, $1,000 more than maybe they had to if they had been more patient, because they thought it was a good deal but didn't maybe have the time to do that research in that moment. I think it's part of the structure. It causes sort of a panic because they're also closely timed. And then there's also very clearly shill bidding on PWCC. I'm not sure if there's more shill bidding on PWCC than eBay. If you win an item on PWCC, they have told me that, and you don't pay, they have told me that they will not, you can't ever bid on an item again, you get banned. Now, you could create a new account, so it's not exactly, I'm not exactly sure if that's so foolproof or how they track down your your credit card number, or something where they're able to more kind of like permanently ban you or not allow you to pay in certain ways. I'm not sure exactly how they crack down on those people, but the nice thing about PWCC is that I think that they do something, so they do add a little bit more than eBay. On eBay, like eBay basically does nothing when people do that. It happens all the time. You can just make up an excuse and say, my kid bid on it by mistake, and eBay doesn't do anything. So in reality, PWCC does add a little bit of protection. But PWCC recently has made you can't tell if people are shill bidding as easily because they've made everything private in order to protect, I guess, the buyer's anonymity. But I wish that you could still look at them because it's frustrating as someone who's buying. I like to look to see who's bidding. Is it the same person, maybe bidding on their own item? Someone defensive shill bidding, something up and up and up, that sort of thing. I like to be able to look, and we unfortunately can't anymore. So that does make me less comfortable with bidding on PWCC as I would have been. But ultimately, I think, JC, it just comes down to price point, and you should figure out what prices you want to pay and stick to them and not go over them. Gamey TCG says, great interview with Radar the other day. Favorite two content creators. Appreciate that. Love the candid discussions you both bring. It was a really enjoyable conversation. It was actually the first time that we've ever had a chance to talk, although we've both heard of each other through other people, and we ended up talking like 2-3 hours after it, just about like random things about our different things that we love to collect and what we're working on, and we've both been helping each other actually through Instagram since then, try to track down certain purchases. So it's sort of a lesson for you guys that a big part of how you build a collection and how you get good deals is you build friendships and networks with people who also have networks, and you combine your networks and you all sort of help each other and you share information. And so we're both a lot like that. We're both very like open books with each other. We tell each other what we're paying for certain items, what we think is going to go up in the future, what we don't. He's been helping me a little bit with this Dragon Ball Z craze that I'm in right now, and pricing certain things and giving me some knowledge there. So it's all about sharing that knowledge with the community and making those connections, developing those relationships. Very win-win for everyone. Altair asks, Jake, would you agree that Shining Legends and Hidden Fates have much greater long-term investment potential than Champion's Path? I feel the latter is very overrated with nothing besides Charizard. Yes, so definitely Hidden Fates is better than Champion's Path because Hidden Fates had the original, shiny full. Going to be more important historically and more valuable than the second shining full art Charizard V that isn't just like a regular Charizard. So I think there's definitely that piece in it just of itself. So once we put even the Charizards aside, where there's a better Charizard, the rest of the set's obviously much more interesting, much more valuable. And we'll always have value. Oh, thanks. And we'll always have value. Some value. It's not going to have necessarily the value it has now or has been having. And I do think that price on some of these things, I think, potentially will come down. And I would worry about investing, in any of these sets really. But I do think that Hidden Fates in particular is the best investment set from that era, even though there's a ton of it printed and more of it's going to be printed in the very long run, because I think that's always going to be a set that is really fun to open. And so you're always like, I think it's very reasonable to think that those products, that those ETBs and these sorts of things can hit $200, $250, $300 again even after the reprint. Now, should they have been going for $250 when they were? Absolutely not. It was silly price. To pay so much money for a product that was just released to me is very silly. And I've talked in depth about that. I have a 50-minute video on Hidden Fates talking about how I think it'll be reprinted, and they were, and then they were reprinted, and it's anything that is very popular and is modern, Pokemon is going to very likely reprint, more on the side of reprint because there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of rumors right now about Evolutions being reprinted, right? I mean, we'll see what happens there. People are saying, I've heard a couple of videos where someone was saying, I really don't think they will because Pokemon's never done it before. And Pokemon never printed ETBs before. They printed the Hidden Fates ETB. Like Pokemon, this is a never before time in Pokemon right now. So throw out all that stuff. Those aren't good arguments. Those are not helpful. Those are overly optimistic arguments. The real things you have to be looking about is money. Pokemon's a company. They're trying to make money. How are they going to maximize their profits? Not what they've done in the past to maximize their profits. It's a different era right now. And so there's a lot of money to be made, with printing some of these things now. And then going to back to your question with Shining Legends, I like Shining Legends. I don't love Shining Legends. I think Shining Legends was a little bit overhyped. It wasn't very popular for a while there. Hidden Fates has sort of been a blockbuster the entire opening it up. They loved the old school, like looking shinies and those sorts of things, but they're much, much, much easier to pull those cards than to pull the Charizard, the Shining Charizard. So I think you have to be careful with how and really investable that set is going to be in the long term. But I do think that similarly to Hidden Fates, I would be very surprised if those don't go up over time because of how fun they are and collectible they are and enjoyable they are. But Hidden Fates is way better in my opinion, than Shining Legends. Also because just Hidden Fates has so many cards from Shining Vault that I can see people for years and years and years, and new Pokemon collectors for years and years and years, wanting to open that product. And one of the keys of these prices ever going up on these booster boxes, people actually need to continue to open the product. And if the product gets too expensive or goes up too quickly, it stops people from opening it, and it actually makes people hoard it more, which eventually will hurt the prices in the long run and may cause a dip. So these things are very complicated, but at the end of the day, in terms of determining all of that, but at the end of the day, it's all supply and demand. So you want to think about what is going to make this set demand, and then how much supply is there now, how much supply is there going to be. That's what it comes down to. Want to come over and say hi?
You'd like me to.
So this is YouTube.
Hello.
Which way is it here? This way. Yeah, so basically how it works is they ask me questions here and have a conversation, and then you can see how many people are watching here. And we can just kind of go through and answer Pokemon conversations and talk. Have you ever been on a live stream before?
I have not. No, it's my first.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So it looks like someone donated $4.99. Thank you for that. And
awesome.
They often ask a question with it.
Great. It's a perfect way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
So Lying in Fields of Gold asks, thoughts on Charizard First Edition, French/other languages. I know English trends at higher price, but will the First Edition Charizard still rise as English does? Yeah, so it's very unpredictable. I have no idea what other language is going to be. It looks like the stream might be pausing a little bit. Let's see if it's working. It seems to be working. So the honest answer is I think it's a risk. I think it's a gamble. I'm just not sure what the long-term interest is going to be in those non-English Charizards. I think one in there, and I've talked about this a little bit on the channel before, is if you happen to know that there's an untapped, people in France are really getting into Pokemon, or people in Germany are really getting into Pokemon, or this sort of thing, or people in Brazil are really getting to Pokemon, and you want to go hard into the Portuguese stuff and then start selling it to them and create a market there. If you have family there, if you have connections, if you know what's going on, that Pokemon is a worldwide brand, and there are certainly ways to sell outside of the United States and out of England and Australia, which are probably the three biggest markets. Those are not markets that I sell in or am tapped into, so I'm pretty limited there. But if you have access to those markets, it's an interesting thing to do. I think, speaking personally, I don't really, I never bought them. I never collected them. I never had too much. Yeah, they said it's frozen.
What internet are you on?
Your internet.
But like...
Let's see if it's good. This happens. We have a lot of technical difficulties on our program.
Oh, well, we're not married yet, but he is pretty cool.
I'm a pretty huge loser is what I am.
Well, I'm pretty cool for letting you do this too.
Yeah, Sarah tolerates me doing this stuff. I would not say that she loves. How do you feel about Pokemon? Give her honest opinion.
I never really got into it, but you bonded with them over it, and like Raffi is one of them.
Yeah.
So I introduced Raffi and Jake, and so I'm really glad that you all have this. It's like, I think, combines a lot of different interesting hobbies that you have into one. It's given a community to you during COVID, which is fantastic, and it's enabled you to kind of combine your like investment and financial interests with something that you loved as a kid, and you like collecting things. So
yeah,
I think all around a good thing. I mean, we've talked a lot about like how I've always seen this kind of as more of like not like an amateur hobby, in the sense that like I'm never expecting you to cash out on this because I know how much you love Pokemon.
Yeah.
And so that's why I see, I think, more as like an enjoyment for you and support you in enjoying it.
So OmniPoke asks you, do you have any hobbies or things that you like to collect?
I do not. So that's something that I think Jake and I have always really been fascinated at, is that he like has so many hobbies, and I am more of like an explorer in that I like travel and culture and all sorts of those things. And Jake loves that too, but I think I'm more someone who likes experiences rather than more tactile, like material type stuff, I would say. But I am inspired by Jake's many hobbies, and so we've been brainstorming on what I can do. I might learn how to play guitar.
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully. I'm hopefully gonna teach Sarah guitar. We're moving pretty soon, and we'll be in a different place. And one of the hobbies we wanted to have sort of over the next few months was hopefully we're gonna play together.
Yeah.
Everyone needs some like inside hobbies, right, guys? During this time, it's been.
I will say I was part of the whole like Beanie Baby craze, like for birthdays and Hanukkah, things like that. My aunt always got me Beanie Babies, but I think like everyone else, they're just sitting in a plastic crate right now.
Yeah.
And
I
quarters,
think mine got thrown out.
The state quarters when those came out.
I still have mine.
Yeah, we have those.
Yeah, I don't think I ever finished it though.
Yeah, but funnily enough, my dad loves collecting all sorts of random trinkets. So
yeah, her dad and I have like bonded a lot over just collecting. Yeah, all sorts of like old trinkets. I helped him track down and buy some 1950s. That were really, that it was fun, and it was something that I think he had as a child, and then his mom threw them out, right? Yeah. And so he kind of just like always wanted them back, and yeah.
But I don't want to distract. I know they don't have much time with you every week, so I want to make sure they get their questions answered.
All right. Any last questions for Sarah, and then we'll go back to Pokemon. I'm sure people want their investment questions answered. Beanie Babies are stonks. How did you meet Raffi?
Oh, high school. Yeah. Actually, Raffi asked me to prom. I know. Yeah, no, Raffi is a very dear friend of mine from high school, and we've stayed in touch for many years. Was a bridesmaid in his wedding, very good friends with his wife. Yeah, and I just thought that him and Jake had a lot of things in common, so they talk more than I talk to Raffi, which is cute. So glad that they can bypass the bridge now.
How did we meet? They asked.
Oh, you want to take this one?
We met on an online app for Jews for Jewish people meeting, and we actually like almost didn't go out on a date. The I guess the funny part of the
That's not
story,
true.
the funny the funny part of, well, I guess that isn't true. The funny part of the story is that Sarah said.
No,
like,
I actually had a cold.
She was sick. She basically, we had plans for a date, and like a day or so before, she said that she couldn't come because she was sick, and I thought, okay, maybe she's, not interested in me or had a change of heart or these sorts of things. That, for those of you guys who online date, I'm sure you know how that can be, that it's awkward and people are often dating multiple people at the same time, that sort of thing. Everyone's just trying to find someone that they connect with, and it's sort of a numbers game, so it can be pretty impersonal. So I was like, all right, she might be sick, and I'd be happy to go on a date, but she might also just be, blowing me off with an excuse, which was all right. But it wound up that she was actually sick, and so we had a date, had a nice time.
Yeah, I'd say so. But I think Spencer's leaving, so you might want to get back to your questions.
Spencer's leaving.
I'm not a draw, apparently.
Oh. I do not care. Was it J Swipe? No, what was it?
J-Date.
J-Date.
Yeah.
J-Date. TV Card says he met his girlfriend over a year ago on Tinder.
Nice.
Yeah, online dating definitely does work. It's
I have
a way to
several
meet people.
friends who are married and like happily with kids and met online. I think the hilarious part is we were both very resistant to it. We're like both old souls, and it was kind of like the last straw, I'd say.
Yeah, well, yeah.
For me.
I think that it's just the best way. It was the best way to like meet a lot of people and figure out like who you liked and who you connected with. But yeah, I mean, we both are not social media type people, and we're both like pretty quiet and introverted in the sense that like we're more like absorbers of information, I think, than we are like someone who would do like a YouTube channel or do this sort of thing. So definitely like online dating was not my first choice initially, and when I was young I definitely resisted it. I didn't do online dating till I was like 29 or so.
Yes.
When I was more like, okay, not, I'm really sort of looking for a serious partner, and it is a bit of a numbers game. So when you first started dating Jake, do you know how much money did you know he has so much money? Oh, when you first started dating Jake, did you know he has so much money? Yeah. His collection was worth a lot. No, so we've been dating. We started dating before I started Pokemon.
So I'm the real deal.
Yeah, so she would never have gone out with me. No. No, so she...
No, I met him as a social worker.
Yeah, when I was when I was like a basketball playing, music playing social worker. So we've been dating for almost 3 years, and that's sort of, I started collecting Pokemon a little bit after Sarah and I got together. Before that, I didn't do any of that. Yeah. So she's been here for the Pokemon journey. But Sarah deals with it, and she talks to me about it. She just views it as like, it isn't worth anything. It's not real money. It's just Jake's hobby. And, I won't speak for you completely here, but
well, I think that's
like
a self-preservation.
How you think about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, not because I'm negative about this world. I think it's because first, it's not mine.
Yeah.
You worked for it and it's yours. And secondly, I don't want to rely to live a certain lifestyle. So that's why, like, for me, it's just like this thing that like is unattainable and is for your enjoyment.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I've talked to people, other, some of my friends in the community too, who have, wives or serious girlfriends, and we talk about how they deal with it, or how their wives or girlfriends may, pressure them is not a fair way of saying, but, encourage them to sell because it would mean a lot for their lives, or, are trying to balance wanting to go on like fun vacations and do fun things with the potential money instead of, spending it on cardboard that I only enjoy instead of, both of us really enjoying. So it's a sacrifice that Sarah's like willing to let me do this. On the other hand, I think she trusts that, I'm generally good with investing and money and am careful and make smart purchases that I do think will gain in value, and that one day if we want to sell this sort of thing, that it will hopefully have some value, to us, for us. But yeah, I think that the other part of it too is just we never want to financially, and it's a lesson that I teach on this channel too. I never want to financially depend on Pokemon at all. I think, even when you're starting a business in this space, it's a very risky thing, because it's so dependent on people's on the hype and people's feelings at any one moment, and feelings can drastically change about how much they love these cards or enjoy these cards. So having marketable skill sets and or savings in other types of assets like stocks, real estate, things that are producing something or create something or have some sort of inherent value, unlike Pokemon cards, which derive their value from the subjective sort of love and experience of it, is a much, much safer way to go in life. So I think that it's the type of thing where you really, be careful with that. I think trying to find that balance for yourself. That being said, if you really know what you're doing and you're very savvy, I think putting 10 to 20% of your net worth in something like collectibles is a doable thing. But I think it really depends on what your other assets are, what your cash stream is, cash flow, and some of the stuff we talk about more specifically on this channel, the investing stuff.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that we probably are trying to navigate is like where to store all.
Storage issues.
But yeah, otherwise I'm in full support.
Yeah. Sarah likes things very clean and tidy and in place, and I'm a lot messier. So trying to figure out where we're going to put it all, that it doesn't like get on her nerves and bother her, and is sort of away, but in a place where I can enjoy it. And we've been moving a lot. We're in the process of moving a lot to a lot of different places. So it's yeah. So it's an ongoing thing.
I think there were a couple of questions up top, actually.
Some questions.
Yeah.
So is Jake 32? Yes.
No, there were like Poke questions.
I'm sure there are a lot of Pokemon questions. All right, we're going to get back to some Pokemon.
Yeah.
How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for taking care of him. I hope he's proven useful to you all. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, so Sarah is a wonderful, supportive girlfriend and has been a great partner and person to have in my life, particularly during this difficult period where we've been more isolated. We have been seeing some friends, but not as many. And as I've told you guys, I love like playing. I play in a band, and I really miss like playing music with other people so much. I really miss playing basketball, and so starting this Pokemon thing or having this Pokemon thing and starting this channel has been great for my mental health to have something that I feel like is having a positive impact or something to do outside of just sort of my my social work job. So I really appreciate her for being supportive of that, and appreciate you guys for tuning in. All right, so let's get back to some Pokemon questions. I'm sure some of you guys have had like that, and some of you guys have had enough of that, because it is the internet and everyone has opinions. Okay, I'm just going to go to the bottom, all right? So if people want to start asking questions again, or we can just have a conversation, because I'm down there. All right, so DB Card says, hey, Jake, did you see Soda Poppin's stream destroying all cards from first edition Rocket Box with a flamethrower? Pretty awful to watch. Oh. Thank you. Pretty awful to watch. Was this inevitable with the... So I heard about it, DB, but I haven't watched it because I don't want to watch it. I think it's obnoxious. I don't want to give him a single view. When I hear that people do like kind of like stupid, offensive things for attention, the best thing to do is to ignore it, because the only way to make that not happen is if lots and lots of people ignore it, and then it's just one idiot burning up something that a lot of people really cherish and care about for money and cred and attention. And so that's what I would suggest. Just like, if we don't watch it, it'll go away. And there may always be enough people who want to watch it, and it always will be a thing, but that's just the reality of human beings, of life. And so you can't fight that. You can only control what you do and what we do in this community, and the type of people you are around and engage with. But yeah, I mean, it's really disgusting and gross, just because he could have given those cards to people who really appreciated them, cared about them. He could have sold them or donated money to charity, or whatever. That sort of mentality is unfortunate. Jody Matoma says his aim was to surely go viral. It worked, annoying, but it worked. Yeah, exactly. And of course it went viral, right? Because they're very expensive, and destroying things that are very expensive, and most of these streamers right now, I would say just be very careful, because probably a lot of them are just jumping on this fad and trying to make money, and their whole job is jumping on fads and going viral. The whole job of a big streaming YouTuber, or a lot of these guys, is to figure out what everyone's talking about and then make a video about that, and then rinse and repeat every day. That's how they get on the trending page. That's how they get everyone. So understanding how that works, and so that's the reality of the algorithm, the reality of the media, when we speak even mainstream media, right? Anything, right? Media cycles, the reality is they're trying to get people's attention, and so they do things that will garner that attention. So pretty straightforward. Radosaurus says it was pretty funny, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think that some people might think it's funny and enjoy it, and I guess I can get there. Yes, I am also like a serious person, and I believe in like ethics and morality, but I also think like being kind of a moron and an idiot and being goofy and silly and doing like dumb, ridiculous things is like. And in my early 20s, I did tons of crazy, things all the time, and loved it and really enjoyed it. So I think it's a time of life thing too. But I think that I do think that it's very disrespectful to businesses, to the community, to a lot of people to do that. And says something about the culture. So I think, on the other hand, Radizor, what I will agree with is like, there can be things within that are funny. And I didn't watch the stream, and maybe he was saying like funny things and there were funny elements of it. But maybe he could have done it without destroying such valuable items that mean a lot to people, that a lot of people are really after or want and can't have, because they don't make that sort of money. So I don't know. I guess those are my thoughts on it, but as usual, I don't want to be. I do think that you know, like I've seen like Max Mofo, who like destroys a bunch of stuff on his channel. He doesn't destroy like really expensive stuff, but like I find Max Mofo to be not like some stuff I don't find that funny, but like sometimes I find it really funny. And I'm sure when I was younger, I would have found it like even funnier. I think I'm a little bit old for it now, but I think when I was younger, I would have found it even like funnier and just like really enjoyable. And he like destroys stuff, so I get it. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Connor B said, or sorry, let's see. I'm skipping some here and then I'll get to that. Basic Trainer asks, so where do you see sealed base set unlimited boxes in 10 years, as first edition sealed boxes are far out of reach for most? I don't know. Is the honest answer. I think that they're due for a retrace, if I had to guess. I think that their spike in value, both the spike of value in the unlimited PSA cards and the spike in value of the boxes, was built on a lot of irrational hype. And when I say irrational hype, I mean people didn't realize how many of those boxes are still out there. And even more to the point, people didn't realize how many more of just like base set like mint cards there are in the world just sitting in people's collection. So part of the reason the box went up a lot is because cards even went up and the holos were selling for so much. You know, if you got a PSA 10 Charizard, it would near pay for the box maybe, or pay for half, you know, most of the box depending on the price point. Although you're almost certainly not going to pull a PSA 10 Charizard, almost certainly going to be PSA 9 because it's difficult to grade. But you know, with the cooling off of the base set unlimited prices, you should see a cooling off of the box price. It may not exactly work like that because the market for the boxes, a lot of that market is also streamers really trying to open them and sell packs and make money off of that, and or do like cool charity things like Steve Aoki's doing. I love his stuff, where he's doing like box breaks for charity. So in terms of the long run, I think they're good investments. Definitely keep them sealed. Definitely do not open them. There's going to be so much based on unlimited product. There may not be that many unlimited sealed boxes in a long time, 20, 30 years on the line. And so definitely keep them sealed because they're going to hold a wide premium probably over the PSA cards in that case. JC says, aren't we better off investing in the S&P 500 or individual stocks than hoping a certain card goes up in value, aside from the big hitter trophy cards versus Charizard and a few others? Yeah, so it all depends on what you're trying to do, JC. So I'm going to go over quickly the positives and negatives of all this, and I probably should make a video on this because it's an important topic if people don't know this stuff. So quick breakdown. So first, are you looking to invest in Pokemon for the long term and hold cards? Or are you looking to buy them and flip them quickly for profit? Okay? So if you're looking to buy cards quickly for profit and flip them, you can make a lot more money in Pokemon than you can, I believe, even in day trading in stocks for the most part. And that's because I do think that right now in Pokemon, it's a very immature, irrational group of people. And so people are making a lot of financial mistakes and paying way too much. I think that in stocks, there's so many savvy people that you're competing with doing the exact same thing that it's much more difficult to make a profit. In Pokemon, it's very, very easy to make massive profits. I'm talking easy $5,000. Like just if you have the capital, if you have like make $15,000, $10,000. Just be patient, buy the right lot, buy the thing that seems undervalued, underpriced at the time, overlooked, flip it. Now, what you have to be careful with is the overall retrace in the market. If you buy at the wrong time, you may not be able to get your profit back because the card price will retrace. But in terms of buying a card under market value right now, very easy to do if you're just patient and active and engaged. Now, it was much easier to do it before this time period because now more and more people are coming in, but it's still very easy to do. I know people who are doing it all the time, and they do it with trophy cards. They do it with ungraded large collections that then they grade and flip and do express and flip for a profit. So you can make a lot of money doing that. So when we think long-term investing, though, the reason that stocks are so great, for example, is because you get dividends, one, and depending on the stock, a number of stocks that I own don't give dividends, and what dividends are for people who don't know is they pay you a certain percentage, 1%, 2%, a year, less than that, but sometimes, of the amount of stock that you basically own, and they pay that out to you 2 times a year, 4 times a year, depending on when they pay. Do they have quarterly dividends? Do they have biannual dividends? These sorts of things. And what's great about that is you get money out. You get that cash flow, and it can provide living expenses. You can put that money back into the stock to then get more stock. There's a lot that you can do with that. Whereas a card, you can't get dividends from. You have to sort of sell it, completely leave the investment, or hold it, and it's not making you anything, and then you have to hope that one day you're actually going to be able to sell it to ever see money. So that's one big thing. Another big thing is liquidity. It's very, very easy to sell a stock. You know how much your stocks are worth and are going for. Very difficult to determine the correct price on a Pokemon card, particularly in this market when prices are fluctuating so much. And, it's difficult to you have to worry about being scammed. You have to worry about someone not paying. You have to worry about it being lost in shipping. You have to worry about, paying the eBay fees, the PWCC fees, all the different fees associated with it. It's a lot more hassle. It's a lot more headache. It's a lot more stressful. It's a lot more difficult. So just understanding that all that also is in it and costs money and time and energy. Everything to a reputable person, you're probably going to be taking, you're probably going to get 50 cents or 60 cents on the dollar, for your cards, that sort of thing. So understanding that going into it. What else? The other thing is that, of course, stocks go up and down and have bull and bear periods, but if you buy like blue chip type companies and stocks, they're very unlikely to completely fold and people to completely lose interest. And there's almost always going to be buyers because the companies are frankly too big to fail. It's the type of thing where now, of course, if you're buying medium-sized companies or smaller companies or certainly penny stocks, those can certainly go to zero and become worth nothing, and your stock can become worth nothing. But generally speaking, if you're buying into Berkshire and Hathaway, Apple, Amazon, these types of companies, very likely they're going to go up over time and do well over time because they have so much money, so much capital, so many resources that they can continue to adapt, they can continue to innovate, they're going to continue to buy up other companies, be, innovators in the space, their business models are excellent and this sort of thing. So it just takes all the hassle out of, it's also so easy because it takes all the hassle out of checking all the prices, doing all of the engaging, trying to sell, trying to figure out what it's worth. You can just go online. The people at the company are taking care of the company, are making sure it's going up, and have their own interest in it going up, and you just kind of go along for the ride. So it's just really easy. So in terms of if you'd put money in the stock market or you'd put money in collectibles this year, you would have made a lot more money if you put money in collectibles at the beginning of the year. Even though stocks have rebounded and many are at an all-time high right now, they aren't much higher than they were, other than some of the tech stocks, certain stocks like Tesla or something, but they're not much higher than they were, at the start of the year before all this stuff happened. So whereas Pokemon cards and lots of different collectibles have, tripled, quadrupled, 10x, 20x, depending on the thing. And so even when you take out all the fees, the illiquidity, during a period like this, you would have been much better off investing in the Pokemon market financially. much, much, much better off. But in the long run, I don't think you should do it. Coop says, do you ever plan on publicly displaying your full collection in a video or otherwise? I'm actually thinking of doing it soon. Would you guys like me to display my full collection, do like a big collection video where I just have it? Because the reason I would do it soon is I'm and it's going to go back to being stored in multiple places for safety. And so it would actually be a time when I could make that entire collection video just to kind of get it all in one. I wouldn't go through every card, but I could just show you what boxes what boxes I keep things in, how I store things. My thinking would be educational because I could show you guys how I store everything and what I do with everything specifically, which I think would be helpful for some people. And it's so fun looking at cards, right? And it'd be cool just to look at a bunch of cards. So I imagine that would be enjoyable. All right, so people are saying that they would like that video to be done. Yeah, I can do that. I have no problem, showing my cards. I enjoy looking at them. I enjoy sharing them. If people want to see them, that makes me happy. It's really fun. I love seeing other people's collections too. I love watching collection videos from other people. A lot of my favorite videos are from like every channel is just them showing purchases they've made, them showing collections they've made, because I just like love the cards. Larger Fluent says it's good to see people flex their full collection. Yeah, I mean, the thing I would never want to do by showing my collection would be like to discourage anyone or be like, or worry anyone. The goal would be to inspire and excite people, and because that's how when I see a big collection, I feel really excited, and it's really fun and really cool, and it's amazing that people were able to put these things together. It's like such a cool find. But I know that people can also feel discouraged or negative about it too. So, and I get that. I do respect that. All right, let's see what else people are asking here. Just reading some of the questions. Swami says, how is first edition distributed? Were kids opening packs of it off the shelves? I believe that they were, yes. It was just sort of the first. I don't think very much of it was on the East Coast, from what I've heard. Most of it was out west. I think it's part of why you have some California guys who have more of it. But I don't know any of that for sure. That would actually be a question that I think Gary would know the answer. His thing was being very involved in bringing a lot of that stuff over to the U.S. Saul Muga says, the weekly hangout. Hope you're well today. Hope you're well too. Will you be watching PokeRev's Yu-Gi-Oh! Box break? Oh, he's doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! One? No, I wasn't planning on it. What box is he breaking? I might watch it. I like Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm more I'm very into like Dragon Ball Z right now. That's my new thing. Jody Matoma says box breaks are boring for him to watch. There's zero fun in watching a YouTuber open packs to a random stranger that I don't know. I do enjoy watching them, but what I worry about is that people are addicted, like all the people buying the packs, like they can't afford them, they might be addicted, they're losing money, they think it's a good investment when it isn't. Like I worry about all the misinformation out there. I worry about shopping addiction and gambling addiction during this time. And I think a lot of people are depressed and anxious and at home right now and are isolated and maybe do have a little bit of extra money because they're not spending it on other things, but also maybe they're just like not doing well, and so they're almost being sort of enabled by these these things, and instead of using it for fun and enjoyment, they're really digging themselves into a deeper hole by spending money that they should be saving or putting away for things that might benefit them more. And I know that can be painful to hear from some people, but it's a really important message, because it's like if you're like that and if you feel that pain, it's like, okay, take a deep breath. It's okay. stop buying them tomorrow, right? Take the money that you were going to spend on those packs tomorrow and save up for something that might move your life forward in a certain way. I worry that a lot of, non-wealthy people are doing it. I think that's a wealthy man's game. Electric Type says, good evening, Mr. Pokenomics. Good evening to you as well. Salmigi says, or Radazor says, there's also a Neo Genesis first edition box break going on today. Oh, wow. Oh, is that the Ms. one? Ms. Kiff, I think his name is. Paying Dividend says, thoughts on Scream Munch Pikachu promo as investment? I like the Screams. There are a lot of them, though. I definitely way prefer the Misaki promos. So I think if you start getting into a situation where, like, you can get Misaki promos for, like, in PSA 8 or 9, or a Scream promo in 10 for, like, around the same price, definitely 1,000% go for the Misaki promo. Okay? That would be my advice on those. So I think far more historic, interesting. There aren't nearly as many. They're much infinitely more difficult to grade. PSA 10 Screams are far easier to get. The Misaki promos were extremely hard to get in 10, so even 7s, 8s, and 9s are really, like, pretty mint. Even the 7s are, like, pretty mint condition because they had binder dings and they had they have dings in the back because of the way they were distributed. So a lot of the 7s are actually mint fresh out of the thing. They just have a little slight ding in the back. So paying dividends, it's all about, like, comparing one thing to another, right? It's like, luckily that's a thing that is good, and I think people will always want and is an enjoyable thing. But I think there's often better places where you can put the same amount of money in terms of an investment. But, and either way, as I was saying before, like, it's a collect what you love type of thing. And so if you love the Scream promos more than you love the Misaki promos, then go for the Scream promos. I don't think it's, like, far worse investment, or you can't buy. I don't think Scream promos is just, like, throwing your money down the drain. I know for me, it's hard for me to just completely throw money down the drain. So for me, I like the things I buy to at least have some potential of return. But there's some things I will buy because I just love them so much, or I'll get graded, that is a complete throw down the drain. But I really try to keep that to a minimum. The vast majority of stuff that I buy, I try to have, like, a win-win situation where I love it. It's exactly what I want to collect. It's what I enjoy. But I also think that it's likely to remain at that value or hopefully go up a little over time, that sort of thing. Alex says, was mid-completing the base unlimited set when the boom happened. He said he needed the Zapdos. It went to 500, and then he waited a few weeks and snagged one for sub 130. Yeah. A lot of that stuff going on in Unlimited, and a lot of people are making a lot of money on that, right? They were grading it, or they were flipped into it, and they're buying low, and they're going to try and flip it up, and there's going to be a lot of movement because there's so many of those cards. There's no fear of missing out on those types of cards, I hope. Don't buy with the fear of missing out. Patience. DB Card says, Pokemon in general is not a safe investment, but it's really pretty to look at. Index funds are much safer over the long term, yes. Habibi says, good to not have 100% of net worth in stocks. Yeah, that's also true. I mean, it's good to have some of your net worth in some sort of an emergency fund, some in cash. And if you're going to put the vast majority of your money in stocks, you want to have it in things like index funds or stocks that are, way too, very, very extremely unlikely to fail. The reality is, if, like, Apple or Amazon fails, like, we're in trouble, and your cash is probably going to be worth nothing too. So there's sort of no hedge. That's part of why I think some people like Bitcoin. It's like, well, okay, where do I put my money in nowadays? I can't put it into stocks because I just feel like with everything going with the disease and illness going on, we're not supposed to say that word on YouTube. With everything that's going on. I don't feel confident in business happening really, or and I feel like there could easily be a recession could turn into a depression at some point, or all this overspending could really negatively impact us. So I don't feel comfortable putting into stocks. The government's printing so much money. I'm worried about inflation, so I can't keep it in cash. Pokemon and these types of things seems way too highly risky and all over the place, and doesn't seem like a smart thing to put your money in, during this time either. Where do I put it? And I think some people say, well, Bitcoin is a way to kind of hedge against inflation, but Bitcoin has a lot of its own issues, and it's something I talk about with my friends quite a bit. Is like, where do we put our money right now? Where do we think is going to be the safest? What do we think is going to be the biggest growth opportunity? Like those types of conversations. And for me, it's about putting a certain amount of money in the safe category, and then a certain amount of money that I can play with in more risky things that I am going to try to make a much bigger return than the safe stuff. And I was a big poker player and made quite a bit of money playing online poker. And, one of the ways that you make money playing poker, and it's the same thing with investing, is thinking about implied odds, or in poker, implied pot odds. And what that means is that even though there's a good chance something's going to fail, if you are going to 10x your money on it or 100x your money on it, it's probably a worthwhile thing, as long as you think, if you're going to 100x your money, for example, as long as you think there's a better than 1% chance that it's actually going to work out, because then actually the odds are in your favor if you want to look at it as gambling. Because even though, if only 5 out of 100 times it works, those 5 times you're going to, make 100 times in your money. So you're actually going to then make 5 times on your money in the end, after everything. So it's getting your sort of emotional, everyone wants to win all of the time. And I think that's one thing that really successful entrepreneurs will tell you, is that getting used to failure and losing is very crucial and important, because really it's about taking lots and lots of one of them or 2 of them when you're doing the math right in terms of your gambling, in terms of your risk. Okay? So all you really want is that it's in your favor. It's the problem with pack opening. It's like, yeah, you could hit the card in the pack, but the odds are against you. The more packs you open, the more money you're going to lose, on average. Same as going to a casino. Connor B says, as a finance guy, I think that you have an easier chance of getting burned in the market than flipping a few cards, but a much slower process. I think that, Connor, I mean, I'm a long-term investor, so, I've done extremely well in the stock market because I don't panic when it goes down, and it doesn't really bother me when it goes down. I try to buy, I'm a value investor, so I buy things that I think are good companies that maybe are a little underappreciated in a moment, and I think that are going to, last forever, for a long time. So I'm a Warren Buffett type person, and Berkshire and Hathaway, and that's sort of my investing style. And my dad's a financial advisor and sort of passed that sort of mentality down to me, and it works very well. It's very stable. There's really solid, really nice, good growth over time. We're talking 8 to 12% a year on average type of growth on time, over time, even a little higher, slightly better than the market on average. If you pick individual stocks and are good, you can, outperform it slightly, but not a financial advisor here on this channel, just talking opinions. Radazur says, I've noticed there's quite a bit of overlap between people interested in Pokemon and Bitcoin. Not sure how I feel about that. Laugh out loud, yeah. I think it makes sense because there are a lot of get-rich-quick people in both, but there are also people who are interested in alternative assets and interested in making money in different ways. I also think it's an age thing. I think there were a lot of young people in Bitcoin. I think there are a lot of young people who like Pokemon, who are coming, to age at the same time as Pokemon. So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of those guys to get into Pokemon because they both love the gamble, the risk. They love the high degree of selling, of trading, or selling, buying and selling, and they love the rush of that, and they also love and understand and know Pokemon because they grew up with it. Let's see what else people are saying. Omnipook says, did anything catch your eye? I bid on a lot yesterday, and I won absolutely nothing. Not so much PWCC, but I was actually looking in golden auctions because PWCC tends to be overpriced, usually, mostly. I did follow certain items. I tried to buy that semifinalist. You guys know I love those Champions Festival. I'm always trying to buy those, but it went just slightly too high for I was, third or so in terms of the bidder on that. I tried to buy the golden auctions had it had a complete fossil PSA set first edition and had a complete jungle set first edition, and they were going for way under what they should have been. Like if you had bought all of those cards full price on like PWCC, you'd be paying like 14,000, and it went for like 9.5 thousand, and then the other one went for the jungle one was probably worth like 9,000-10,000 full price, and it went for about 6.5 thousand. But when you factor in the buyer's premium, which is a 20% on golden auction, and then the fees that you're going to pay on the other side, the 10% fees that you would pay to resell them or flip them on PWCC, you're not really making that much money anymore. So that's the problem. But it shows you how poor of a buy, buying all those individually on PWCC is versus just buying those big lots. Looks like some other people were bidding as well on different things. Scottiman G says he won the Alakazam Gold Star. Cool, congratulations. I did. What grade was that, Scott? I was watching some of the Gold Stars because there were some PSA 10 Gold Stars that I'm looking to get that were up for auction, and I did consider bidding on them. The Gyarados one in particular, because it's an underrated one in my opinion, because there's so few of those. So difficult to grade, so hard to find, and one of my favorite Pokemon. The fees that you're going to pay on the others. I'm hearing that the audio is cutting out. Huh. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure why. That's frustrating. Hopefully it sticks in. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me anyway, as always. Oh, it was a PSA 10. Nice. For 2.8K. Yeah, I think that, those Gold Star cards, they're very, very difficult to find. And there just are not going to be that much more of them. And so if you like the don't seem crazy to me at all. I think that I love the Gold Star cards. That's higher than I would pay personally, but I don't see that 2.8K price and say that was ridiculous. I actually see that price and I say that's a good deal in this current market. That's a really good deal. I'd much rather have that card for 2.8K than I would have the base set, 10 first edition Charizard for, just to be honest, for 350K. How much more, the difference between 350K and 2.8K, like much rather have the Gold Star Alakazam. I think so it comes back to value too. It's right. What do you as a collector actually love and enjoy? What are you going to are you going to have buyer's remorse or not? So Connor says he wanted a shadowless Gyarados, but they went too high. Yeah, I was watching a few things, but mainly it was the golden auctions because, as I said, golden auctions and heritage auctions are where I tend to get my deals. There tends to be less eyes there, and there are also people who don't realize that they need to talk to them first to be able to get above the max bid. And so some people try to bid last second and then they can't bid, and that takes them out of it so people can get better deals who kind of plan ahead. Scottman G says, the last few went higher, so I'm happy. Had the chance to get it years ago for 350, but I was an idiot. Yeah, you definitely were not an idiot, Scott. I get the sentiment, though. Yeah, that's what they were going for. The Alakazam was always underpriced and underappreciated, I think. And so I did pick up a few Alakazams when they were at a good value because, for me, the Gold Stars never made sense. There were some Gold Stars that, like the Rayquaza was always way overpriced. Beautiful card. Arguably the best Gold Star in terms of art and coolest looking Gold Star in terms of art, although there are a number of candidates because the Gold Stars are freaking amazing. But, there are Gold Stars that are much lower pop, and yet the Rayquaza sells for, like, multiples of, like, the other cards, including Charizard forever. So, it's an odd price history on the Rayquaza. So instead of buying, like, one Rayquaza, I bought, like, 4 or 5 Alakazams, and that sort of thing. Because I saw how underappreciated that Alakazam was. But outside of that, I mean, that's what the prices were. No matter what you bought, you were getting that sort of deal. Everything has 10x'd. All those cards have 10x'd. So it is what it is. And I'm with you, Scott. I think I'm paying higher prices now for certain things because I actually don't think those things are as likely to retrace. And for me, they're still worth it at those prices. So that's probably what you were feeling too, Scott. I agree with that mindset generally. I think that's the right sort of mindset to have. The other option is just to say, you know what? I don't believe in this market. I think it's going to come down a lot more, and I'm going to have patience, and I'm going to buy nothing for 6 months, and I'm going to see where it is. I think that's another really smart approach to this market. I think you can also do some of both. You can be like, there are a few things I'm going to target, just 2 or 3 things, and then most stuff I'm going to wait 6 months and see where it goes. I think that's another smart. I think you can make a good argument for all of those things, depending on your own financial situation and how much you want the cards. Let's see what else people are asking. James Chris says, Jake, do you think cards under PSA 9 are a good investment? So it just depends on the card. So I can't really answer that. Yes, it can be. For certain cards, it can be a investable or something that I think will hold value or go up over time. For a lot of other cards, no. Scott says, I look at it like this. I sold the Shining Magikarp I bought for $600 for $5,000. So paying the $2.8K is almost like paying the $350 when you consider how the money is multiplied. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. In some ways, you're just kind of trading, certain cards in your collection for other cards, or redistributing some value from a certain card to another card through buying and selling. I think a lot of people are doing that now. It really hedges your risk, right, Scott, by doing that, because you're not putting new money, new cash flow in. Jody Matoma says, the audio is manageable. It's a bit annoying, but we can hear 99% of what you're saying. I'm glad you can at least hear 99%. And you're tolerating the cutoffs every week with me, right? There's something every week. I have no idea how people stream effectively and why I cannot ever. Sarah and I are looking into getting really good internet though, because we're both going to be doing like even more specific work and all the time over the computer and Zoom over the computer for our next jobs. And so hopefully once we make that move, the internet will be stronger there, and we won't have like this type of issue. Infamous H says, 3 Evo booster boxes. Should I open them or keep sealed? Jody Matoma says, open. You should do whatever makes you happy. You should do whatever makes you happiest. Brown says, do you think the declining quality of mainline Pokemon games is going to negatively affect the hobby as Pokemon may become less fun and novel? It's possible. I don't see that quite as an issue yet, Crown, but I do think it could be, and certainly in the long run, if they're not getting new kids into the game, going to have a huge impact. So if kids aren't liking the video, like if that video game isn't competing with Fortnite well enough, and when I talk to kids about Pokemon versus Fortnite versus other things, like most of them love Fortnite. It's like the number one thing for a lot of them. And so Pokemon has to compete with these other video games, right? The video games are amazing now. There are so many amazing games. And so it is important for the long-term health of the hobby, definitely. Girls Like My Hair donated $5, appreciate that, and asks, do you think a Japanese Registeel Gold Star PSA 10 is worth holding on to? The pop report on it is a 7. Oh, Japanese. I was about to say, I don't think the English Registeals is 7. I don't think any of them are that low. I think the Torchic's the lowest at maybe 16 or 17 now. The Japanese is at 10. Yeah, so first of all, is it unlimited or first edition? Because in Japanese, if you guys don't know, there's unlimited and there's also first edition. So interestingly, unlimited in a lot of cases is rarer. If you want to say it below Girls Like My Hair, which one it is, but unlimited is actually rarer than first edition because the way the Japanese printed is they printed basically first edition, and then if there was more need or more demand, they printed unlimited, and most of the need was fulfilled by the first edition. So, and because most of the need was fulfilled by the first edition, not that much unlimited was then printed after. So, I do think it's investable. I mean, I think that PSA 10 Gold Stars, Japanese, English, these are amazing cards. I think the Japanese Gold Stars were undervalued for a while. I was buying them. I wouldn't be too... I think that the Pop Report, you have to take into account the first edition and the unlimited because some people prefer the first edition because it says first edition and people want the first. Other people prefer the unlimited because it's rarer or more niche. But I really think that it's not like English where one matters that much more than the other. So I think they kind of go together. And so it kind of doubles or triples the pop depending on how many are there. So I would take that into account thinking about how many there are. I don't think there are going to be that many more. I don't think there are a ton more cards that are going to be graded. I do think that there are definitely more than English, though. And I have gotten them and graded some myself over the years, whereas like English ones I never see in like actual gem mint condition, raw. So I do think there will be a little bit more than English, a little bit more than English, but not a lot. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Girls Like My Hair. Let's see what else people are saying. So Dark Love says Japanese Gold Stars are much harder to grade than the English Gold Stars due to centering. I've had pretty good luck on the Japanese ones. That hasn't been my personal opinion or my personal experience, but I have not graded like hundreds. I think I've graded 50, total from both. I also have not opened any English, so I haven't gotten a ton of experience with that. So I'm not going to say you're wrong, Dark Lava Lizard, and you may have more experience than me. I may defer to you here, and you might be right. My experience made because it's just a qualitative. It's not one person's experience, but my experience was that it wasn't that difficult to grade the Gold Star Japanese cards, although I might have just gotten fortunate and been able to pick up a bunch of gem mint ones. John Pokemon says, are the Pikachu Victory Medals considered trophy cards? Oh, you posted this a few times. That's all right. Oh, you posted it a bunch of times. I'm not intentionally skipping your questions, John. I'm just sort of I just kind of go through and read whatever pops out in the moment. And then kind of go back and forth with new things. So everything is considered whatever you want. Don't listen to people who tell you this is what a trophy card is and this isn't, and and this is vintage and this isn't vintage. It's like everything is subjective with those opinions. It's all semantics. Now, if you're asking me, do I consider them trophy cards? Sort of. I mean, for me, if I want to be really loose, John, if I want to be really loose with the definition, I think we can define it this way. A trophy card technically is anything that is awarded to someone for free from the Pokemon Company. So even like Misaki promos could be potentially considered trophy cards, although you could argue that they're not trophy cards because you didn't win something, you just handed something in. Whereas I do think like the fan club, like the play promos, like anything that had point systems where you had to do a certain amount to get awarded seems like a trophy card. I think the art cards are definitely trophy cards, and I think anything in a tournament that was awarded is a trophy card. So I would say sure, on on the Gold Star Charizard, on the Gold Stars. Yeah, me too. I like some of the Gold Star cards with the silver border better. I always like the Rayquaza Japanese better. There's something with that art that looks really good with the silver, but I like the yellow on the English on some of the other ones. So I like both. Is my personal opinion. It looks like some people are split on it as well. I really like them though. They're fantastic. I love Gold Stars. Gold Stars were the third thing that I really went after sort of doing the original WotC era. Then I went to E-Series, and then Gold Stars was like my next thing, and then I went to Japanese. Dark Lava Lizard clarifies what we were talking about earlier and says, my experience with Japanese Gold Stars is limited to their version of Deoxys and Dragon Frontier sets. So it's possible that those are specifically more difficult to grade from your experience. I'm trying to think if I graded... I don't think I've ever graded... I've never graded something from Deoxys. So, and Dragon Frontiers, I think I have graded a few cards from, though. I graded a lot from Power Keepers. I had some of those... it's not Power Keepers. It's called like the World Champions set in Japanese, but it's basically Power Keepers in English. And for the Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon. But yeah, thanks for sharing your experience with us, Dark Lava Lizard. Definitely one of my areas of like just not. I don't have that firsthand experience that some of your 20-year people have because I wasn't in the hobby when this stuff was like cheap enough that you could like sit and open a bunch. So I'm missing that experience. So it's always really appreciated when someone from the chat has that experience and shares it with people. Very, very valuable. Infamous HS. How do you get more information on the history of a card? For example, which sets they were released on. So Bulbapedia. If it's not in Bulbapedia, then you're going to have to ask people like me, and people like anyone who has a channel who is it seems very interested in the history. And I may say I don't know, or I may say I'm going to go ask my friends who know more than me. That type of thing. Riley Farr asks, what's your long-term outlook on Unlimited, base set specifically? Long-term, that's going to be interesting to see. So, I'd be very careful with Unlimited in the short to medium term because I think more and more of it's going to get graded, and I think it could push the prices down and continue to push it down as more and more comes on the market if there isn't a continued people gobbling them up. We've obviously seen a huge retrace on it. I wouldn't be shocked if it retraced more. I don't think it's going to retrace much more, though. I don't think it's going to go less than double what it was before all of this happened. So, but I could see a retrace a little bit more if more and more product continues to come on the market, particularly your like 8s and 9s, and certainly below. In terms of the very, very long term, there could be some hope for a recovery. When we're talking 5 to 10 years, if most of it can get graded in the next 5 years and it can actually get absorbed, we'll have a better idea of how much there is. There could just be too much, though, Riley. There could be too much in the world. And if there's just too much and there just aren't enough Pokemon fans to gobble it all up, it may never go back to the prices that it was at like a month ago. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's definitely going to go up back to those prices. If I had to guess, and it's pure speculation, I'm gonna go be hopeful, and I'm gonna say, you know what, the Pokemon community is big enough, and there are enough people who love it, and there are enough people who are gonna want multiples, that eventually it will regain the prices that it was at and potentially surpass it. Now, another thing that could happen is some people could try in the short term. It could redouble again, and because what happens is there could be a lot of buyouts. Like if there are people who want to target it right now, who maybe think not that much more of it's going to come on and are all buying it up at these lower prices, and they're going to buy it back up, it could quickly go back up. But all that isn't real. Like all that isn't actual collector interest. It's all people trying to make money and flip it and these sorts of things. So that isn't sustainable one way or the other. If people do that, it's probably just going to come back down again, honestly, as they start to sell it. And those people are going to get crushed, in my opinion, by more of it coming onto the market. What we really have to hope for is that people who are not investors and looking to flip bit that it's going to naturally kind of reach a new floor and come back up. And where that is, I don't know. Risky. I think you can make a case for buying a couple of those cards now. I think you could also definitely make a case for waiting. Unfortunately, it's not I don't have a crystal ball. Infamous H, how to, oh, sorry, I answered that. May Gra says, what do you think about Special Delivery Pikachu and Special Delivery Charizard? Do you think it will start a new era for English side promo cards? So I haven't been following them that much. I'm aware of those cards. I don't have too much information on them. Sorry. I can do some more research and talk about them on a different video. All I know is like what they look like and that some people are buying them and liking them. I personally have been busy with other goals, and so I have not been interested in them myself. And when I saw them, it wasn't like I must have them for me personally. But I know that plenty of people do like them. And I know businesses who are buying a lot, are trying to buy a lot, so that'll help sustain the price. Or people who are smart and know what they're doing do seem to see a market for them. Adam Cervantes says, I recently picked up an EX Team Rocket Pokeball Reverse Holo in awesome condition. Not special to most, but a trophy for me. That's awesome. Yeah, the cards can be like your own personal trophy, like the trophy of my collection, the thing that my favorite card in my collection, this sort of thing. No, I'm with you. I think those reverse holos can be really beautiful. I love the look of them. With the symbol of the set on it, and that's a really cool one because it's sort of like the Rocket set and it's Rocket's Pokeball, and I think it's a cool looking card. And I remember when I was first collecting or first starting out, like it was so exciting, like getting new things and discovering new sets and getting a card that I had been searching for a while or really wanting. And I'm a big appreciator of the journey. You know, it's not just about having the big collection at the end of the day. It's about appreciating each new card you get, enjoying that process. That's how you're actually going to enjoy the whole experience. So your mindset, Adam, is 100% like the healthy, like the way that you're actually going to love and enjoy the hobby and really love and enjoy your cards. You know, sit and look at your binders. Appreciate your cards. Don't just go on to the next one. Don't just try and make money. Don't just like that. That's the type of stuff that's going to. Jody Matoma says the yellow border on the English cards is disgusting. I assume you're going back to the discussion on the gold stars. All right, let's see what people are saying at the bottom of the chat. Radazor says, honestly, I think it's still too early to be going in buying with two hands. The hype isn't really gone yet, despite the drops in price, so I'd wait for that to dial down, like you said, 6 months to a year. Yeah, I think that the big question is going to be the supply side and when it's going to hit. And I think that the thing that people are underestimating, particularly people who are not watching this channel or some of the non-hype channels, what they don't, or they just don't know, is that PSA is backed up 9 months, to a year for bulk. And so a lot of cards are going to hit the market in 6 months to a year from now. And it's actually good because I think that it's going to help. It's good that they're not hitting now because I think that it actually could destroy the market even further. I think it's good that they're not going to hit for a while because hopefully the market's going to restabilize a little bit and move up a little bit. And then it'll be more, people will have a mindset of like more comfortable stability and we'll be able to absorb the new cards a little bit better and hopefully not panic. Hopefully we're going to shed some of the people who shouldn't have been buying these cards because they don't really like them and they didn't have the money during this time period. Jamie Chris VA says, or asks, what's something you wouldn't sell no matter what, Jake? Oh, man. I wouldn't sell my childhood Zapdos, my Shadowless Zapdos from my childhood. It was the first holo I ever pulled. I wouldn't sell... I would have a really hard time selling any of my champions Worlds promo stamped cards, or my Tropical Wind would be tough to sell. Outside of that, I really enjoy and appreciate the cards, but if I was in a life situation where I like really needed the money, I would definitely part with them, and I'd feel okay. Like it wouldn't crush me to part with them. But I'm not. I've been selling a little bit here and there and trading a little bit here and there. But the vast majority of what I have is stuff that I've really wanted to keep as part of my permanent collection at this point. And so I'm not really looking to sell anything unless I have like a life emergency or something. And I really Market was in such a mania after Logan Paul. So when like PSA 9 unlimited charges were at 6,000, I just had to sell them because I just knew I just knew how many of those there were, and I just knew I was so confident that price was unsustainable. It made me so anxious. I didn't want to sell, but it made me so uncomfortable and anxious to know that I was going to have cards that were going to retrace probably like 60%, 80%. That I just couldn't hold them. It was like I wasn't sleeping at night because I was like, I need to get rid of these things because they're gonna plummet. That was the feeling that I was having. And some of my commons and uncommons too that I sold towards the top. Dark Lovelace has said, thoughts on the PSA 10 English Crystal Lugia? Multiple sales on the 10k range. Is it really that iconic of a card when so many people were done collecting by the time E-Series came out? So I actually think that's a great card myself. I think it's one of the most beautiful cards in the hobby. I think that price point at 10k, if the price point at like the 20k range of the Charizard PSA 10 holds, definitely is good value on the Lugia, because the Lugia is actually a lot harder to grade and they're a lot less in PSA 10. The Charizard tends to be pretty easy to grade out of pack, like a 50-50, maybe slightly less than 50-50. But the Lugia is quite difficult to grade, interestingly. So that Lugia crystal was actually the one that have always felt was undervalued as compared to any of the other crystals. I also felt the Lugia Neo Genesis First Edition, PSA 10 was always very undervalued. I've always felt the Lugia cards are undervalued in a lot of ways, by percentage basis, in terms of I know how many people love Lugia, so, and view Lugia, prefer Lugia to Charizard, or certainly view Lugia as the number 2 to Charizard, or this sort of thing. So, and I just think the art in that card's amazing. Would I be buying it at 10k? And I'm not buying it at 10k. So I'm also not buying the crystal at 20, right? At the Charizard at 20. So, so it's I think too, Dark Lava Lizard, it's definitely subjective. It's that I really love E-Series, and I know not everyone does. I just think E-Series has some of the best art in the entire hobby. It has amazing, interesting, unique designs and different types of hand-drawn-y feeling artwork on a different layout that still feels vintage to me. And there are no other cards in the hobby to me that do it for me in the way that E-Series does. E-Series is not my favorite cards, but they're not a replicable thing. I think they're very unique and special. And so that's why I do think that as long as other people feel the same way or are interested in them, there's going to be a market, even if E-Series obviously was very unpopular when it came out. People were dropping out of the hobby left and right. Let's see what else. Lip says asks best websites to buy cards from in the U.S. Best websites. Just the obvious ones. I'm trying to think if I have any that I haven't said or that aren't well known. TCG Player, eBay. Mercari can be good. You can buy, Yahoo Japan, if you're looking for Japanese cards, you can buy through Buyee, a middleman service. Let's see what else. you can get there like certain distributors or certain places like Hillside Gaming, like that aren't as well known. Sometimes you can get really good deals there, but they don't really sell singles. They do occasionally, but it's mostly booster boxes, mostly sealed vintage product. You know, the usuals, Troll and Toad, yeah. I don't have any, like, I'm not hiding one from you guys. I wish I had one that other people didn't know about. There's some small ones that I've used. I don't even remember their names. I have them saved in my history that I do check once in a while. I guess the other places to look for it clearly are, you know, you can go on E4. You can go on a number of Facebook groups to try and find cards. Simon Pyre says Lugia is the Charizard of Gen 2. Yeah, that's how I feel about Lugia. I think Lugia is really phenomenal. I just always felt that way about that card, you know, immediately about that Pokemon. I think it's a Pokemon that's very special to people who played those Game Boy games from that second generation. Dark Lava Laser says, do you collect any sealed video games? I recently picked up a very mint sealed copy of Pokemon Silver I plan on getting graded. I do not. The graded video game market concerns me because I think there could be a lot more product out there than people realize, and mint products sitting in cases than people realize. I think it's a newer market. People haven't been grading for as many years of the booster box product than we do that product, so that would make me a little nervous. But if you can get it like like a fairly cheap copy that you just buy ungraded and then you grade it yourself, there's a lot of money to be made in the long run. I'm not sure how many will come out. I do think that they're cool looking. Like, I like them. Like, I think it's like, I love those games. They're a cool display piece. I think the companies that do it are really good, do a really good job. So, but it's sort of not my area. I'm kind of sticking to CCG. So rather than branching to like Pokemon video games, I'm more branching and collecting things outside of Pokemon also to diversify my hobby interests. So like I'd rather go for like the Dragon Ball Z cards and the Middle Earth cards and a lot of these other things than go for like non-TCG Pokemon stuff. But, you know, everyone has their own collector's preferences. It's not a market, I would say, that I know very well, though, for sure. Dark Lava Lizard. So I would take my opinions on the graded video game market with you know, fairly with a grain of salt. Consider them, and then I'd find people in the community that are really into that and really have the knowledge and are going after it intensely to get the best information. DB Cards asks, thoughts on low-grade trophies / similar cards? In my opinion, they're rare / scarce enough to hold value, as well as higher-graded ones do, but would love your thoughts. PSA 5 Grand Party, for example. So, yes, I definitely agree with the sentiment. There's a lot of Grand Parties. Grand Party is an interesting card. There are a number of people who really love the art of Grand Party. I think the biggest draw, or one of the biggest draws of Grand Party, is that it has the trophy symbol on the card that's on like the trophy Kangaskhan, and it's an affordable card you can get with that trophy symbol on the card. But there are a lot of that card out there. So in terms of the amount of that card, it's going for a pretty high price and kind of always has been. So I think it gets that because I do think people do like the art. I don't love it. I seem to be like way in the minority though that says like I don't really get that card that much. I never did. I don't have any particular interest in owning it outside of the trophy sign on it, which I do think is cool. But that's purely subjective. A lot of people tend to disagree with me and tend to like really, really like it and really chase after it. Yeah, so, but I definitely agree, particularly on your very high end. Like anything that has less than 100 copies in the world, any grade's good. Don't worry so much about the grade. Get the cards. You want the card. I agree with the general sentiment. because the card itself is special. You don't need the grade. Now, if you get the grade, it's still cool. Like, I mean, it's still cool to have one in really high grade, but not as important. Jacob Justice asks, do you think we'll see a price drop in the ETBs? For example, a Prisma Storm or Blast can be as much as 3,500 now versus a couple hundred a year ago. I don't follow those sets too closely, particularly the sealed product, to be completely honest with you. I'm not sure, Jacob, maybe you're following them more closer right now, and you can tell us, what they're doing in terms of, are they holding their value right now, or are they retracing also? I've been spending so much time learning about so many different card games that I haven't been following those middle sets as much as sort of vintage and trophies and modern. This has been most of my focus. My best guess, without looking at the data and really analyzing what's happening right now, is that the product for that seems to be pretty not printed that much. And they are very fun sets to open. So I do think a lot of them were opened. And I do think there's quite a bit of demand for them. And I know a lot of PokeTubers, like Rhymestyle, for example. Rhymestyle loves those and is like always looking to buy them and like open them for his channel and things like that. So there is interest in them. What else would I say about them? It's going to depend on supply. I do think there's a decent amount of demand. I think the demand could even increase potentially over time when they become more old vintage. And some of those like shiny cards from those sets are really gorgeous. Like the Blastoise and the Charizard are great. The Charizard is a very underrated card. The shiny Charizard from those sets, like I would much rather have that card than like the more modern Charizards. Even though the more modern Charizards, like the one from Burning Shadows or the one from Hidden Fates. That's just me personally. Not everyone may feel that way, but I also think not a lot of people know about that card. Whereas everyone, like all the modern people, know those two modern Charizards, and so I think a lot of people just want those Charizards to show on Instagram and flex for their friends, and not necessarily because they like the card that much, which I get, and it's fun doing that. But I think if there'd be more potential in those, and I think if those go up in price, then you're going to see the booster boxes at least retain value type of thing. Cammy's Land says, reality is Pokemon is going to die again. So, I mean, I think it's it depends what you mean by die. I mean, definitely not die. I think that you're going to have, I think that the amount of these cards and the amount of interest and the amount of people that actually want to buy them all up can absorb all of these cards at a certain price point. The question is, at what price point? All the interest, there's been a lot of interest in it the whole time. And when people discover Pokemon again, there's a lot of interest in it, and it's not just about the money. And so all those people are going to stay engaged and enjoy the hobby, and it's not just about the money for them. So because of that, it's not going to die, and even if it goes down in price, it's not going to die, because there are a lot of people who aren't here for that reason, or primarily for that reason. That being said, there are a lot of people who are just here for that, are just here for the fad, for the hype, for the views, for the clicks, for the money, and that will definitely, the market will take a big hit. So it depends what we mean by dead. I don't think I don't think it's gonna retrace below what it was this year. I definitely don't think that. There's way too much money in the market now. I was buying things for so cheap, like unbelievably cheap, that someone with like $1 million could buy everything, right? Like absolutely everything that comes up on the market. If it really goes down too far, could just come in and swoop everything in for $1 million, and there are people with that amount of money. Scottiman G says, Pokemon grew again because of social media, which isn't going anywhere. 2020 definitely helped Pokemon, and we may see a dip, but something crazy would have to happen for it to be dead. Yes. Agreed. I can't think of a scenario where, psychologically speaking, where people are just going to wake up one day and not care about it or forget about it completely, or be like, I'm not willing to spend $100 on a card that I was just spending $10,000 for. Truly dead. Yeah, DB cards. Gotcha. Thank you. Interesting on Grand Party. Haven't been able to source one in good shape for less than 700 to 1,000. So it seemed rare to me, but I guess I should check more before buying. Yeah. So they were all over the place for a while, and then there's definitely a buyout of them that happened. That's what it looked like and felt like. And so I actually think there are people who have a lot of them, savvy people. So yeah, that card is not a Tropical Wind. A Lucky Stadium, a Trophy Kangaskhan, and I know you obviously know that, and the price point reflects that, but I wouldn't want that. Like, I would much rather have one of those Porygon, or Eevee fan club cards. Much rather have those than that card. But it's also because I love the art on those so much more. But those cards I think are much rarer than the Grand Party. And you can even look at the pop report. There's a lot of Grand Parties that have been graded. Like hundreds and hundreds more. Many hundreds. I'll look it up for us right now. Because why not? I haven't looked it up in a while. A long time ago, it was I think there were 500 to 600 in the pop. And I haven't looked in a while. Versus some of these cards have 100, 120 in existence. So I will look it up. My internet appears to be a bit slow. Okay. Omnipoke asks, what kind of price range do you think a World's 2019 number 4 Pika Trophy would be? I'm asking myself the same question because I'm trying to find them, and people have been offering things. I would think if one came up for auction on PWCC, I would guess 20K. Could go over I think for a 1 or 2, it might go, be higher. For the 4, 3 or 4, 20K maybe, 25K. Could get up to 30. I don't think it'd get higher than that. I mean, it would depend on the grade too, obviously. I think privately people are trying to buy them for 10 to 12 to 15, but I don't. But there aren't takers. So, give you a little bit of insider. What are you hearing, Joe, on your end? Are you honestly, there might be people offering more and trying to get them for more. It might go 30, it might go 40. There's a lot of interest around them. So it's my computer's super slow. All right, let's finally getting the Grand Party here. Let's see. Okay, so there are 221 PSA 10 Grand Parties. Versus if you look at the Fan Club Eevee and the Porygon Eevee, we're talking more in the 40s to 50s. Oh, Joe, someone was looking to sell. Okay, you have to contact me after this. I know a lot of people looking to buy, including myself. It's not going to be hard for him to sell it. So it's about 5 o'clock now, so we're gonna go for a little bit more. But yeah, but it looks like there are about about 500 of those in the pop. All right. David Ridgway says, thoughts on Expedition set? A lot of those nice holos have low pops. Can we expect those to keep climbing in price? We can't expect anything right now because the whole market may be in need of a retrace. There are a lot of people who might leave the hobby soon. I don't really know. But if the hobby is going to keep doing well, those are good cards to buy, in my opinion. I think that they're underrated versus other things. Let me put it that way. Okay? Scott MG says, is responding to someone else. Hold on. Let me read the initial comment. Jody Matoma said something. Okay. Oh, you guys are talking about modern, yeah. The overpriced cards, Charizard. Yeah. Dark Lab Lizard said, I've been buying up the Japanese version of Expedition for a while now. Very underappreciated, I think, especially with the inability to get PSA 10 Expedition Mew selling around 20k. Yeah, so I actually bought a complete Dark Lava Lizard on this note. I bought a complete, mostly PSA 10 and PSA, but some PSA 9 Expedition Japanese set. Talk about a steal. I think I got about four or 5 months ago now, but that was one of my last purchases. Things were definitely taking off, but I got it in an auction, and it was an incredible steal, Jody Minten is hyping up the thumbs up. Let's make it 100. Jake's kind of seriously great. Come on. Yeah, I don't ask people to like and people don't like. I don't ask people to subscribe and people don't subscribe. It's okay. What I really enjoy is I enjoy that they're mostly people who really want to be here. Part of why I think we have such a high retention rate and why we have such high views for our number of subs and for our number of likes and things is because we on this channel we're not trying to get people to come and stay and subscribe who maybe just watch one video. We're really creating a community of people who like to come every Sunday and have this conversation, and that's what I like. Like that is way more enjoyable. I don't want to feel like I'm making content to grow the channel. I want to do this. So, but finding more people who could engage with us on this level would be great. Although if we get too big, we don't want to be too big, because if we get too big, then there'll probably be too many people here, and we're not gonna be able to do this anymore. So that's the negative. That's the negative of getting like too big. I'm gonna have to like hide this or something. I don't know if we'll ever get big, that big, but like you have those big streamers who like their chat sections just like everything's going so fast, like you can't even engage. They don't even really talk with people. Coke Family says, does anyone have any tips for making a Pokemon card deck? Joe, get on that. Our resident player. Joe will consult with you. Def Drew asked, who was the Pocono person you were mentioned in the podcast Pokemon Radar? Do they have an Instagram? They do not. Nobody knows what this person looks like. So they are some seller, very private seller in Japan, who we think has very close connections with the Pokemon company itself and sells a bunch of trophies to the West and has all of the most amazing trophies, all of the highest end trophies, and seems to have extra copies that were maybe in 100 of a lot of these cards, and because maybe there were 100 cards per sheet or something. They printed extras, and then the Pokemon Company kept the extras that they didn't distribute out to the players, for example, or the art competition winners, and this guy has those, or has access to some of those, and is selling them. So, for years, so a lot of the cards that you see in the West have actually come from Pocono, this guy. And they do not have an Instagram, but if you want to go on Yahoo Japan, you can look it up, and you can see right now he's selling Snap cards. He's selling them for a lot of money. If you have $70,000, go for it, Yeah, Coke. This is not a. Unfortunately, it's not really a player's channel because I don't. I've played the game a little bit, but not a big player. I'm really a collector. This is really a collector's channel. But I appreciate the game. Go check out OmniPoke. One Mr. Banks says, Modern should all fall. The boxes are just hilarious. Yeah. Definitely some ridiculous box prices. You guys know the one that I think is the most ridiculous. I'm going to go a video without talking about it. I think I did a little already. Okay. Mew Expedition is at 20K. Isn't it 2,500 on Pokemon Price? So, one, to my knowledge, is not sold in a while. There have definitely been a bunch of offers and people trying to find them. I'm not sure 20K was the offers. Dark Lava Lizard says my audio cut out. I paid only $850 for a PSA 10, PSA 9 graded set. So I got a crazy deal. Oh, and Dark Lava Lizard says he knows of 3 copies of the Mew Expedition that sold privately at 18K each. Wow, those are big prices for that card. That's amazing. It's an amazingly gorgeous looking card, but that's big. Those are some pretty hefty price points. If those cards are selling at 18K, then the Charizard should be selling for more, and the Blastoise and the Venusaur and a lot of the other cards from that, right? You know, so it's interesting. Watsy Fetish says, fun fact, in the moment he said something about thumbs up, more than 5 subbed. It is how it works. So, you know, I think that me saying, I'm trying to find the balance. I think saying, if you guys wouldn't mind subbing once in a while is okay. But I do think that if people who say it every video, I think it gets a lot of people who are not really engaged in the channel. And I want my sub count to actually reflect the amount of views and the amount of people. But yeah, I mean, for people who like the content, subbing will help the channel grow in terms of the algorithm and will get more people. Liking the videos will help the channel grow. If you think this is useful information for people, if you want more people to get it and be here and engage in the community, it's helpful. This is not a business for me, so I don't need it in terms of making more money or more revenue or getting it big or getting sponsors or anything like that. You're not going to see any of that on this channel, so you don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. Jody Matoma says, your hours-long interviews in these live chats are seriously great, man. You and Twice Big Jake are my most favorite channels. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Twice Big Jake's channel too. I think he does a really great job of distilling accurate information about the new sets in particular, which I think is and he gets, obviously his audience, I think is majority new people in the hobby, vast majority new people in the hobby, and they're not necessarily looking for like the deep dives or the 3-hour-long conversations. They're looking to go on and get specific information about the new set and is it worth buying or not. And he gives good information. You know, I had one issue with one of his videos where he was saying invest in something that I just was like, people are going to listen to you, man. You have 30,000 subscribers and like you're going to push the price up, artificially inflate the price up a lot when you say stuff like that sort of thing. But you guys know my feelings on that stuff is just like, I think that when you come out and you make a video saying invest in this thing, it's incredibly irresponsible. Like I don't say invest in this, like, even, and obviously a lot of the channels that I love, they have videos like that, and I have problems with them because I think that that is the way that you most specifically manipulate the market unintentionally, and you actually cause artificial prices that are just based on the hype of the YouTuber and are not based on people finding and going to that product themselves because they like it. Now, you making a video giving information about something and then them liking that information and going out and buying it because they want to buy it is very, very different than saying you should invest in this, you'll make money. This is underpriced, it's a good investment. So when I hear that, it's more questionable. But it's a hard thing to do. TJ Colt 87 said, that's the problem I have with Twice Baked Jake. It seems as though he pumps certain things. Yeah, I mean, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of his videos. I probably watch 10 to 20 of his videos. But only one video did I ever have an issue with, and I commented something on it. and modern product, and yeah, and you have these other investment channels that basically say invest in this modern product, invest in this modern product, put a lot of money in this modern product, and I think it's very irresponsible. Just is what it is. So, but I will say, with Twice by Jake, and I talked to him a little bit. I think he's really good for the hobby. I think he brings a lot of people in. I think he's very likable person, very smart person, very thoughtful person, cares about the cards, gives really interesting information. And I think he, particularly when he talks about stuff, I think he really likes like the Japanese promos. Like I think he does really good videos. Like I watched a recent unboxing video where he did an unboxing of like a Japanese promos, and I liked that video. He seemed like he really liked it. He knew things about it. It's great. And to be honest, like a lot of times big channels, like they don't give any useful information, or they give extremely misleading information, and he doesn't do that. So Watsy Fitter says, is it possible to not pump videos when you show new product? In my opinion, it makes it a lot better than a lot of other channels. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that literally I've only seen him do something that made me cringe once, and like we're all going to do things. Like there are things on my channel, I'm sure if I went back and watched, I'd be like, ooh, shouldn't have said that. Like probably pushed that. Probably was too strong there, too hard there. There's lots of content out there, and we're all gonna do things that inadvertently pump things up. But I do think you can say in your videos like, this isn't necessarily investable, but it's enjoyable and has good value, and it could go up, but it may not, or whatever, but it's fun. And then that may make the product go up, but that's because people hopefully they actually like the product. Now, you do get these cult of personalities, like anyone, and this isn't, I don't mean to be mean by saying this, but anyone who like listens to Twice by Jake and says like, this guy's a Pokemon expert or a pro who knows everything about all these cards and knows everything about the hobby or like has a bunch of connections and distributors, and I should take investment advice from this guy. Like, you should not be taking investment advice from Twice by Jake. Like, it's not appropriate. Like, but what it is appropriate is him giving like very useful, wonderful information that is helpful. And I do think that, like, for me and my channel, I try and delve into the deep dives a little bit, but like I'm so, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I can call out psychological things and hype sort of things, but I'm not going to give you guys prices for things or say that something should be selling for this or something should go for that. It's just not good. But I do agree with you guys that it's a pretty impossible task to have a YouTube channel, talk to a lot of people, and then like not affect the market. It's going to affect the market. So you just have to try and do it as ethically as possible. And I think that there are lines there. And I do think that Twice by Jake has never said, listen to me, I'm a financial advisor, right? He starts his videos saying, welcome to the hobby. I'm a hobbyist. I love these things. If they go up or they go down, it doesn't matter. I love them. And I think that very likely the majority of his audience feels the same way. And so not a lot of harm is being done there. I think that there are probably some people who think he's an expert in the hobby in terms of like investing and like it's going to make them a lot of money, maybe. But I don't think he makes that type of content. And so I don't think that there's going to be an issue there. Matt says, I don't think it's right for you to say you shouldn't take investment advice. He has some sound advice on certain things. He might. Does he give investment advice a lot, Matt? I haven't seen him give a lot of investment advice. Mostly, I think he just talks about products. Can you give me some example, Matt? I mean, what I would say, guys, is like, you shouldn't like you should be trying to get information from me and information from him, not investment advice specifically. Matt says he hits on underrated cards in the hobby. And so, yeah, so that to me is not what I would consider investment advice, Matt. I would consider that as helping to educate people and bring attention to things that aren't seen. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because I do want to be clear in this video so people understand what I'm saying. Twice Baked Jake has probably the best videos that I've seen on those types of things. And he brings great attention to things that like the Japanese promos that are beautiful and deserve attention. So I wouldn't say he's telling people to invest in them necessarily, although he might go over the fence sometimes from my perspective. But but that being said, I might go over the fence too. I might jump the shark, as they say too, and say things I shouldn't also. All right, so let's see what else people are saying. Scott G says, in 2014 we were collectors, in 2020 we are investors. Laugh out loud, exactly. Big Kid says, Jake, are you buying any of the Star Wars TCG at the moment? I am not. I'm not into the Star Wars TCG. That's my friend Rafi. He loves it. Will Cho's personal development show says, investment advice naturally bleeds through his videos. He inevitably brings it up each time there's a new modern set unboxing or card. Yeah, I could watch more of his videos and give you guys my opinion. I only ever had issue with one video I saw of his. Plenty of people have had issues with my videos. I think that I guess I would just go back to what I said before, is that his channel is a good for the hobby, even if there are some spots where he might be pushing or pumping up product and he's not really aware of it, or doesn't think it's as big of a deal, or views it as a positive thing because he thinks it'll be good for the hobby. Those channels exist in every hobby. Yu-Gi-Oh has them. Like, there's lots of channels that they open up the new stuff, they talk about how great it is. He's also a new channel, right? I mean, it was a channel that I think he got really pushed into the spotlight because of Unlisted Leaf had him in his video, or covered him, and he got pushed in there. And so I think I'm not sure how long Jake's been in the hobby, but I think he's learning and probably getting better and learning things. And I don't know what his investment experience in life has been. I mean, I would be very careful taking investment advice from anyone online you've never met, but particularly someone who's kind of young and maybe hasn't made a lot of money or done a lot of investing in other sorts of things, But I don't think he oversteps the line, Matt. And so I think I would probably agree with you. I think we're probably on the same page with Jake. Like, I think he does a good job generally. Like, so there are other people who are like pure investment channels who are, telling people what to buy specifically. I don't know. That guy was pushing Evolutions kind of hard. Oh, was he? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were. Like, the reason Evolutions became expensive was because of people like maybe Jake, if he did it. I saw, what's his name, that other Pokinav push Evolutions. A bunch of people pushing Evolutions. And that's why Evolutions went up, like, 100%. A bunch of new people came in the hobby. They went to these channels. These channels told them to buy it. They bought it. Price went up. So, is the channel frozen, guys, or can you still hear me? Can you guys still hear me, or is it frozen? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing because I don't want to say negative things about other channels and other people, and I don't really know them. But I also want to tell you guys the truth and help protect people. And it's a tough line of like, of that sort of thing. And clearly, like, there are times when any PokeTuber, all the big names I believe have pushed things up. And it's obnoxious to me, just to be completely honest, that they don't acknowledge it or they pretend that it doesn't happen, right? So Z&G Emporium, right? So James, my friend James, has pushed some things up and has hyped some things up, but then he made a video apologizing for it, basically, and acknowledging it. And so that's something, And I guess it comes down to that thing of like, the best you can do is just give information and then say it's your choice. I'm going to give you accurate information and then, you decide. But I mean, to be honest with you guys, like the video that made Jake's channel, his prices were pretty off. Like, he had like the top 10 most expensive Pokemon and they were off on like on the private sales that I knew and other information that I knew. And then Unleashed Leaf put that information out there. So it's this situation where a lot of misinformation is getting out there, not intentionally, but because people who maybe know better or know more aren't saying anything, and it's complicated. So why don't we move on from it? Riley Fire says, you and James from Z&G are my favorite Pokemon YouTubers. Always great info. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I like all of these YouTubers. There's not a single one. Every YouTuber that I've said I have some issues with, I want all of them to succeed. I'm happy all of them are in the community. I think it's okay for us to have like slight disagreements on things and for us to have like different ethical and moral beliefs maybe slightly, and to talk about it without it meaning that we like dislike each other or don't like wish good things for each other. So, all right, let's get back to some Pokemon before the end. All right, Gus says one more comment on it. Sometimes I feel like good for the hobby is code for my stuff will increase. Yeah, I get that. Crazy55 says, given the increase in exposure of Pokemon cards is investable, have friends of yours who might not have been into Pokemon before taken interest? What was their reaction to your collecting interest? Yeah, great question. So, they have. So first of all, some of my friends have like seen my channel. Like they watch this channel now a little bit here and there, and they think it's like hilarious that I'm doing this. Because they had, I was never into Pokemon for like 10 years during college, high school, so they didn't know, what's going on here. You have this knowledge, you've been into this, like, yeah, I've just been doing it for 3 years. But some of them are getting back in, some of them are interested. Partially, yes, there's because of money, but mostly it's because they like Pokemon. They love Pokemon and enjoy it. So I think that certainly the price is going up and just more attention out there has also brought more people who really like the cards into the hobby too. So Jamie Thier says, Jake, any experiences with the Ultimaris and Latias? Some of the coolest art and are very memorable. Yes. Yes, I know what cards you're talking about. I believe you're talking. Yeah, you're talking about like they're part of the Versus series. They're not part of the card sets. They're part of like the movie promos or something. Cool cards. I'm not super experienced with them, but I like them. They're really nice looking. Will Cho's personal development show says, well said. Are there any real ways to actually invest in Pokemon cards? It seems it all comes down to hoping the price will go up one day, which we have no evidence or guarantee on. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good place to start, particularly when you're new. I felt like I was taking crazy pills. How terrible every channel was saying top 5 things to buy, and I was like, where have you, and just like very simplistic, poor advice. And it fueled the mania and fueled the market. I mean, there's no other way around it. It just is what it is. in terms of, you can do better though than just randomness in investing in anything, including Pokemon. And it goes back to like my value video. It's like what cards have more objective value components, value components that are going to make that card stick, they're going to make people want it over time. You have to think about the collectors. What are collectors really going to want? What are they going to enjoy? What are they going to be willing to buy? What is going to be exciting? What is going to be fun for them to have? And being able to predict that and understand that comes with experience, and being engaged. And so people who have a lot of that experience, someone like S.M. Pratt, who's at the top of the hobby, in terms of with others, but certainly at the top of the hobby with his, intellect and his business savvy and his ability to make deals and predict where the market's going to go, and all of the moves that he makes behind the scenes. He's doing better than just your average person. I'm doing better than just your average person with all of the stuff that I know and stuff that I understand. I knew to sell all of that unlimited at the height. I knew which cards to hold. I knew which cards to move my money into. And you can't get it perfect, but you can do better than the average. And that's kind of what it comes down to. Fire9 says, "Hey Jake, first time in for the Sunday chat. Nice to have you here. I'm new to Pokemon and like to open packs for the enjoyment of the chase, and I grade a few and flip where I can, but you have to know your limits." Yes. Yeah, in my likes, how to start collecting a Pokemon video, talking about budgeting, talking about figuring out what your goals are, not falling for a fear of missing out, taking it slow, having good self-awareness, checking yourself, like how much do I really enjoy this? Am I getting pleasure from this, or am I getting buyer's remorse and stress and then buying more? I see people get into these cycles of like, maybe I shouldn't have bought that, and then they buy more of it. They do these sort of irrational, addictive type behaviors because they're addicted to buying, they're addicted to the fun, they're addicted to the community. And I know it's not the most fun thing to talk about or hear, but like it's vital stuff that someone needs to be saying in the Pokemon community and trying to help people. Potato. Nice. Love twice baked potatoes. I haven't had one of those in a long time. Fire9 says, on a site you mentioned a couple of times Dragon Ball Z, which I've also been looking into. Would you recommend investing in this? Ironically, as I do like the look of the cards. Keep up the work, man. So the thing about DBZ is I'm just getting into it now and learning about it. There is quite a bit of rarity to a lot of the early scorecards, particularly the ultra rares, particularly if you can get them in limited. And I can make videos on this and talk about it because I'm learning all about it and I'm investing in it, and I can show you guys some of my product. But is it very investable? It's very risky. Do not buy Dragon Ball Z unless you really love it and really like it. Now, if you really love it and really like it and really enjoy it like me, do I think it could go up over time? Absolutely. Do I think it will? Unlikely, I would say. I would put my money on it will sustain roughly its value if I had to throw out wild speculation. It's wild speculation, though, okay? But it is based on my sort of instincts on these sorts of things. It's based on my experience. It's based on, like, I think that it has a very solid, engaged base that really loves it, and I think new people do come into it here and there. Now, if bigger people or big YouTubers or, like I talked to Rhymestyle about it a lot because he's obviously a big, friend of mine. He's a big, DBZ YouTuber. And I asked him, why are you guys not into the vintage stuff? Why is Dragon Ball Super but not the old stuff? It's interesting, Like in Pokemon, they're into the new, people are into the new stuff, but we're also into the vintage stuff and the old stuff, but he's not into the old stuff and the big collectors aren't. Why is that? And yes, it's because a lot of them didn't have the connection or the nostalgia for it. But I could see them, a lot more of them getting into it at some point, because I do think it's really cool. I do think it's really great. And I don't think that they know about it that much. I think it's an underknown thing. I think that they're very difficult to find. The sealed product is like non-existent. It's like not non-existent, but difficult to find. A lot of it's in Australia randomly. Don't know why. I have no idea. And the ultra rares, which are the chase cards from Dragon Ball Z, are very difficult to pull. It's like you can open multiple boxes. It's a gold star situation, even harder than gold stars to pull. So there's some value, but you need to do a lot of research. You do a lot of research there. Oh, Cardinal Gaming is here. Cardinal Gaming, loved your recent video. I commented on one of your videos. Thank you for all you do for the hobby, man. Cardinal Gaming's a guy you guys definitely should be supporting. James K says, Jake, were you able to check out those Japanese Bandai Card-Ass and Visual Adventure cards? I got a pretty good collection now, especially the Prism cards I really like. I have not. I apologize. Let me make a note for myself, and maybe we can talk about that next time. There are so the Visual Adventure cards. I actually don't know what those are. So I'm gonna write that down, and I'll look it up, and maybe we can talk about it next week. Ardo Rennick Canyon says, the thing with DBZ is that you don't really associate the franchise with TCG. It was all about the show, and you can always go back and watch that to relive nostalgia. I agree. Although I will say that the cards actually have pictures of the show, really important moments in really cool holofoil patterns, and so they do kind of connect to the show in a passionate way. It's not like random art that doesn't connect to the show, is one thing I would say to that. And two, I would say that Dragon Ball Super is getting pretty popular, so people, if that doesn't die out, which it could die and becomes a sustained thing, that could actually lead kids today who are playing that game to want the older vintage stuff eventually, maybe, and the adults who are buying it and paying it eventually wanting to go eventually. So let's see what else we got here. Radizar Champions Fest 17 finalist stamp just for a little over 1,800 USD. That's all it went for? Where was that, Radizar? I missed that. A finalist stamp went for just over 1,800. That's a pretty good deal on that. Ungraded or graded, Radizar? Pokedynamics says, have you done any research into the Japanese 20th anniversary CP6 set, XY Evolution equivalent? Have a pristine 10 Charizard and determining whether to hold or sell. Yeah, so to be completely honest with you, like Evolutions and CP6 is, in my opinion, extremely hyped up and overrated. It's my opinion. I've talked a lot about it on this channel. I don't necessarily want to rehash it again and again, but of a bunch of influencers pushing it up mostly, and a bunch of new people looking for what should I buy first, and then all of those channels basically telling them to buy that. Then the price started going up, and then more people started to buy it, and then people made money on it when they shouldn't have really. They made money the ones who earlier bought it, and then they hyped it up and so it just kind of was this thing that just kind of came out of that. People couldn't sell those things for even the price they were coming out, even retail for a while. They were going for under, and those packs and everything you can find all over the place. Now, when we talk about CP6 has that Pikachu, which is a unique card, which is a cool card, the secret rare card in there, which is cool, which adds something. Does have a holo in every pack, which is cool. So there's some value there. You certainly have a higher chance to pull the Charizard, which is good. CP6 is definitely printed a lot less, much less than Evolutions. No one knows how much, but Japan they don't do historically. They have not done everything is very allocated, and they don't do the same sort of. We don't see the same sort of reprints that we do in English, and the same sort of like haphazard random reprints, and the way it's like distributed out. It's a mess in the US compared to what it's like in Japan, where everything is like so organized and everyone knows what they're going to get, and it's just like it's a much different situation. But the problem is, who wants the CP6 holos when they could get the English holos, when there are a million billion English holos that are going to be around forever, in mint condition. So that's the first thing that I would say, the first concern. The good thing about CP6 is that the box looks really cool. And that's one thing I do like about just the box itself, because it has that original, that might be the coolest art there is. The original base set box from Japan might be the coolest art that there is, certainly it's the coolest box art by far in my view. So as a display thing, it's cool. But it's incredibly overpriced right now. Like I watch streamers that are selling them for like $120, $110 a pack. You're throwing away your money, from a financial standpoint. From a collector standpoint, I think it's great that people like it and want to spend that much money. And and I hope that they're doing it and they understand how much product there is, and they understand that those prices are probably very unsustainable. I guess that I don't get the appeal of CP6 so much. Like, I don't know why people are opening CP6 packs. I kind of get the appeal of the opening Evolutions packs for like much cheaper, and the Evolutions packs are way overpriced at $13, $15. I saw one streamer selling them for $19 a pack. Silly, so those are my honest opinions, okay? Yeah, Mike says CP6 print quality is far superior to Evolutions. Yeah, so there's also that. I mean, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, right? Depending on how you look at it. It does mean that they're going to be a lot more 10s. It's going to be easier to get 10s. I have a lot of CP6 10 Charizards. If these cards continue to go up, I'll make a fortune off of them. And, so I just sent like 5 off, 6 off to get graded that are all going to come back 10s from CP6 that I got for like $3 a piece, guys, $4 a piece, when no one cared about any of these, just in collections. So people are misleading you on the history of this. The problem is people aren't watching videos like this. So if someone heard that I was buying this for $3 to $4, they would probably think again buying a PSA 10 for $1,000. I'm turning $3 into $1,000. So just be careful. Be careful, okay? Now, just because the history of it was that way, it doesn't mean that it's ever going to return to that, because things do have price inertia. But I wish that this stuff was like common sense, so I wouldn't be like one of the only people having to say such negative things, all the time. But I think it's important for you guys to hear the truth. So the upside of it, I will say, will be, as we said, is the cool box. The fact that there aren't that many of them, and people are opening them. So there are fewer and fewer sealed ones. So if you have a sealed one, it's possible that will retain its value. But to buy a pack and open a pack thinking you're going to regain the value from the cards inside down the road, like 5, 10, 20 years from now, I just have a very hard time imagining it. And I think there's going to be enough unlimited for everyone in base, potentially. I think we still have a lot left, and I think there's still going to be a lot of people who leave the hobby after the hype. So there's so much risk right now in all of that. And but if you have the money, collect what you love and enjoy. I would never, don't ever yuck someone's yum. But if someone is doing it and saying it's a good investment, I need to yuck their yum, because it's not. You're making a mistake, I think. So, okay. But I like watching people open it, and they're paying for it, and I get to sit there and watch. So that's fun, So let's do a few more, and then we've been going for about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Bad Heaven says, I think the 2008 DBZ Bandai is more likely for the DB Super people to get into, in my opinion. The artwork is closer to what we see today, and it was also done by Bandai. I think it's an interesting point. I don't know. I like the score stuff, and it definitely could just be a bias. I do like the score stuff, but and I think it's rare. I think it's quite a bit rare. I think I can still get those Bandai boxes pretty easily. The score stuff, their scorecards that are selling for $2,500. There's a real market. Their scorecards worth $5,000 if you can get them in perfect condition, like the Charizard of the scorecard. So there's a market there, and there's value there. There's nothing like that in Bandai that's selling that much that I know of. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So. Basic Trainer says, don't ever yuck someone's yum. Jake 2020, yeah. Or you can watch a Twitch streamer destroy valuable cards instead. Haha, yeah. Bad Heaven says he's been trying to get the scorecards too. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, the DBZ. Harry Potter is a lot of fun. Middle Earth is a lot of fun. Like, I think part of me, what I was trying to do also by showing those videos on the channel was to show you guys that there's a lot of fun TCGs and CCGs out there. There's a lot of fun things to collect. You don't have to spend money on Pokemon only. You don't have to chase the fun of buying things and collecting things in a very overinflated, overpriced, overhyped market. Now, I would never tell you don't collect Dragon Ball Z if you don't like Dragon Ball Z, obviously. You may only like Pokemon, and then so you're kind of stuck there. But I think a lot of us, we liked a lot of pop culture stuff. And so there's options where there's better value. And again, talking directly against my my huge collections interest, right? So Onipoke says, is EX Dragon Charizard secret rare a yuck or a yum in your house, Jake? I like it. I like it. I don't love it, to be completely honest with you. I probably should love it because it is really cool, and that's an underrated set. There are no gold stars, so the set was never appreciated as much, but it's an extremely difficult box to find. Those first couple sets, and I like a lot of the holos from that set. So. Yeah, I mean, I do think that it was underrated for a long time. I think it's going for quite a bit now. I think that there's that champion stamp one or national champion stamp one too that's going for a lot. So, yum, new video series, yeah. What time are you guys doing dinner? Yeah, I'm gonna end pretty soon. Jacob Justice asks, Rafi, how about the Simpsons TCG? I got a master set of the Topps 1990 version. So, I have a couple boxes of the Simpsons. I'm going to open one eventually. I've seen other people open them. I just didn't love the cards. I love the box though as a display piece. I think it's really cool. I think it's amazing value for the vintage feel of the display case. And I loved the Simpsons when I was a kid. So I think it's cool. And it's Wizards of the Coast. It has the Wizards of the Coast on it. So for me, there's always a connection there. Watsy Fetish says, is Middle Earth / Harry Potter like DBZ with pictures that show an aspect directly out of film? So, no. Both Middle Earth and Harry Potter do not have our hand-drawn artwork, and they hired a lot of artists to do. So Middle Earth is exactly like Magic, basically. They're the same. They have the same type of release. Middle Earth would be huge right now if they hadn't lost the license, if ICE hadn't lost the license, because Middle Earth was a really popular game and is a great game to play. And it, to me, in my opinion, is a underappreciated part of trading card history, and so that's part of why I want to own it, because I'm a real appreciator of the cards and the trading card games and how they came about, and it's an important part of history in my opinion. That and Magic in a lot of ways. Harry Potter also hand-drawn art very similar to the styles that you would have seen before the movies, and was made way before the movies. The cards came out before the movies, and then I believe that's true. I think that's true. And then, but the DBZ cards, the score cards and Panini cards, which are the same as the score cards, have the art from the movies. So it's not art. It's they take, not necessarily movies, the television show, the anime series, and also probably some of the movies, probably too. You're welcome for that information. Happy to share. This is all stuff I've been learning in the past few weeks too. I'm a huge, I don't know how many of you guys feel this way, but I'm a huge history buff and nerd. So for me, learning the history of TCGs, learning the history of Pokemon is a huge part of what I enjoy. Raphael Green says, is Pokemon outdated? Not to me. I love I really enjoy it. PokeCrypt says Fortnite is dead. Not according to the kids that I know. They love it. Omnipoke says, and we'll do another 10 minutes because I'm being summoned pretty soon for dinner with the fam. Omnipoke says, do you think there will ever be a market for regular holographic cards for EX era and DP era graded? So I own a lot of EX era PSA 10 holos because I graded some of them myself, mint, and I was getting them for really cheap. I think that they're really cool looking, and I was buying them for me personally because I thought that they were really excellent value. Do I think other people will see that and purchase it and there'll be some market? Yes. Do I ever think there's going to be a mania around them? Unlikely, because there's so much for people to choose in Pokemon, and there are very few people that have connections specifically to those artworks. So really the only thing going for them is that they're cool and that they're main thing very rare, because those sets are very hard to find. That being said, the gold star cards and then the EX cards pull up the value of those because they bring attention to those sets. And so I think that there will be people who get into collecting those, and maybe they don't have the money for those. They may move to those things, and I could see them being $100 to $200 for PSA 10s being like really good value for those cards somewhere down the line. I don't see them becoming WotC era first edition, even though they're probably as rare, as difficult to get into 10. That would be my best guess. Then in terms of the DP era, I think you're sort of even one step newer, one step less historic, and probably slightly less rare, although those sets are also pretty difficult to come by. So hey, Rainy Day Collectibles, nice to see you here. We should do something again at some point. We should have you on the channel. Just tuning in now. Any thoughts about modern TCGs doing serialized versions? You and Radar briefly talked about it on your most recent cast. Oh, by the way, guys, Rainy Day Collectibles, another thing you guys should go check out. You should subscribe to them and watch their videos if you like these talk videos, particularly like information in Magic and some other and CCGs and things of that nature. Just tuning in now. Any thoughts about modern TCGs doing serialized? You and Radar briefly talked about it in our most recent cast. Yeah. So what I hope they do eventually is unique arts from artists that they'll have them do like one of one, or one of 10 prints, or one of one like original drawings, and they'll put that as like a Pokemon card into the cards, and they'll autograph them. And I think that if the Pokemon market has a big enough adult base, it's possible that will incentivize Pokemon to do something like that. But in my mind, being just total speculation, Pokemon would I imagine would be pretty concerned about becoming too adult. Sports cards I think don't have that issue where they can become adult, become for kids. Like everyone will like them. I think that I'm not sure that stuff. I'm not sure how kids would feel about that. Maybe kids would actually love it. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that now that I'm thinking about it. It would just be so expensive that it would create a price problem, I think, for kids. That would be my concern. Some of these sports boxes have gotten so insane. Kids can't afford these things, and families on a budget can't afford to buy them for their kids. So I don't know. You could have separate sets that maybe have some of those special cards in them. The problem with doing that is then it makes the normal set's no longer that chaseable or that interesting. It lowers the value on other things. When you create a new high thing, it lowers the value because now the secret rare and the shining cards are not the chase anymore, are not the top of the mountain. So not an easy thing for Pokemon to solve, but definitely a really cool question. I think that if Pokemon starts to die in the future, and people stop buying the modern sets nearly as much, which will 100% happen at some point, who knows when. it'll go through more down periods. You may see Pokemon do something like that. Pokemon Hollow, nice to see you here as well. You think that CD promo Blastoise will become iconic, being the first English Blastoise printed? Those arts are amazing, right? The thing that always held the CD promos back were how many there were, but those have become extremely valuable. You know, those have gone up hugely in price. I think they're probably at a price that they should be. I get why they've gone up so much. It surprises me because they have how many I know that there are. But they have those like, you know, Game Boy arts. You know, they have those original amazing arts on them. You know, iconic arts. So, Ankle 44 Breaker says Nintendo doesn't care about collectors. Haha. I don't think that's true. So that's something I know that said that they cater to players and focus. They've really been doing these, like, you know, Hidden Fates, these Shining Light, like these are collector sets with collector cards, and I think they're a company that's interested in money. Like and the collector market is booming right now. So I'm sure they're aware of it. I'm sure they have a lot of interest in it, and I'm sure they have a lot of interest in catering to it. So I think that was something that Ankle 44 Breaker, that definitely was a talking point or something that people have been saying for years. But I don't think that that's completely true anymore. You know, in terms of that would often be talked about when they would reprint sets, because something like what's it called? Roaring Skies, right? Roaring Skies was reprinted not for collectors, but was reprinted for players because people wanted the Shaman EX or whatever, Shaman EX, as Joe can tell you a lot more about than I can, as the resident player in our group here. But so in the past, that sort of trope came about because it was like. You know, they only care about collectors. They're willing to destroy the secondary market. They reprint things because they want to get those cards out to collectors. You know, but now, why are they reprinting Hidden Fates? They're reprinting Hidden Fates because they want to get it out to more players. I meant they want to get it out to more collectors now. You know, this sort of thing. So, I think that Pokemon is interested in. I think that they're a fantastically run business and company. Part of why I feel safe in Pokemon in the long run is because Pokemon has done such a great job of protecting their brand and keeping it amazing, and they make such great decisions. Outside of, like, obviously the video games have gone down a little bit, but or gotten a little stale, and I think that the new Pokemon, the designs aren't the best, so I do have some issues there. But overall, they do a really good job, and so I think that. I think we'll have to see the balance that they find, but they're going to try and find a balance. I do get a little bit of a kick out of, like, when I see YouTubers predict, like, are they going to reprint this, or are they going to reprint that? And it's like, and saying, well, they didn't reprint it before, so, you know, something I said earlier in the chat, but that they didn't reprint before, so they're going to reprint it, so they won't reprint it in the future. It's like, that's just, don't listen to that. Like, it's all risk. Nobody knows the answer to that. We will see. Cardinal says, damn, Jake, with a hot take on Gen 8. Yeah. Rafi and I, all the time, you probably haven't seen in a couple of our opening videos where we open some of the new stuff, where we definitely, like, some of the Pokemon are just, like, we think are pretty terrible, like, pretty lazy designs, and just, like, not, like, don't get me that classic nostalgia. And OmniPoke almost brings up this point that it's totally true about all human beings, that we tend to, like, if you look at Star Wars, like, all the young Star Wars fans, they love, like, Jar Jar Binks. All the old Star Wars fans think he's, like, awful, like, think those movies were terrible, whereas the young fans who saw those movies love those movies. So there's always a bias towards what we grew up with, towards what we love. But yeah, as you say, B was about to say, those are the ones that I hate on the most, like the ice cream ones. Like the strawberry sundae, and then, like, yeah, this is ridiculous. You don't like a centipede with a fire mustache. There's, like, the beetle, the ore beetle, which is just like a beetle, like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, and I do agree with you, Pokemon Hollow. It's not that, you know, there are some new Pokemon designs are cool, you know, and I think the starters are pretty cool generally. So I like the starters. But Blitzfrey says he's okay with the designs, but the games are boring. Yeah. I'm playing the game right now, and I'm not like super hooked on it, even though I love Pokemon. So it's fun catching Pokemon and exploring the world a little bit, and the Wild Zone's fun. But the game, like the game itself and the story, I'm not like excited to get to the next place. I'm not like excited to, I love the stories, so it's not it doesn't grab me and grab my attention and make me want to not put it down. So it looks like the stream may have gotten disconnected there for a second. I'm not sure. So I think we're gonna end. We're gonna end for today, but I will be back next week, and should potentially we'll have another video or two for you guys this week, depending on how busy the schedule is. But thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me and tuning in for these long streams. It's really just getting nice to, I'm really starting to recognize pretty much, all of the names, and it's really enjoyable to do this every week with all of you for showing up, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. So, for all of you guys, just appreciate you guys showing up each and every week, because I think it's a win-win for us both. So thank you so much. I will see you guys all next Sunday at 3 p.m.